to the evolving needs of our society. The review will explore how to better incorporate the wisdom, authority, and development roles of chiefs into our national governance architecture without compromising the non-partisan character of our traditional leadership. In this light, we've also started the process for the establishment of the National Governance Advisory Council as part of our national reset agenda. This will provide a format for dialogue between traditional leaders, civil society, and the state. It will ensure that the voices of Nananom and the values of our cultural institutions continue to guide public policy and national development. Your Royal Majesty, I know how you care much about infrastructure development. In my first tenure as President, we worked together on several projects in the road, transport, education, health, trade, and water sectors. We worked together to build the iconic KJTR Market Phase 1. And other several satellite markets in the greater Kumasi area. We expanded and upgraded the Kumasi International Airport. We started construction of several hospitals in Ashanti, including Sewia and Afari Military Hospital, which sadly were abandoned. We constructed several community day schools in various parts of Ashanti. We completed the 3K water project, which gave Konongo and Kumawu water, and reconstructed several roads in the Kumasi metropolitan and surrounding districts. Your Majesty, under the Big Push infrastructure program, we're once again about to start investments in major infrastructural projects across the country. And as the second most populous region in Ghana, Ashanti will not be left out. Your Majesty, I'm happy to report to you that we will soon undertake the feasibility study and design of the new Accra-Kumasi Expressway. We hope to be able to cut the sod early next year for work on this transformational project to commence. Your Majesty, it is our intention to continue and complete the Phase 2 of the KJTR Market project, which has been affected by the debt exchange program. We will also commence construction of the Kumasi Outer Ring Road project. This is a project that takes a road around Kumasi through Ejisu and appears on the Mampong and Techiman roads. We'll start the first quadrant to take big trucks through Ejisu to come out at Mampong and onto the Techiman road so that they don't go through Kumasi city. Work will soon start on extending the runway of the Prempeh International Airport to allow bigger wide-bodied aircrafts to land and take off. We will also undertake the Kumasi City Traffic Improvement Program, which will include completion of the Swami Interchange and associated bridges. In the health sector, we will continue and complete the Sewa and Afari military hospitals. We will also continue and complete the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital maternity and children's blocks. These and many more projects in the road sector are planned to upgrade the general infrastructure of the Ashanti region. Your Majesty, your commitment to good governance, justice, and social accountability is well known. You've spoken boldly and wisely in times when our institutions have faltered and when the moral fiber of leadership has been tested. Your courage has not gone unnoticed. It serves as a powerful reminder that the stability of our nation depends not only on elections and laws, but on the character and conscience of those who are entrusted with leadership. We've also taken note of your continued investment in the youth through the Otumfuo Educational Foundation and your many interventions in health, economic empowerment, and cultural preservation. These efforts are not in vain. They are building human capital and renewing faith in our traditional authorities, not as a resistance to modernity, but as a foundation for authentic development. as we work to restore economic stability, create decent jobs through the 24-hour economy initiative, and ensure fairness in the distribution of national resources, we rely on your wise counsel and grassroots of your traditional authority. You, Your Majesty, have shown that traditional leadership is not only compatible with democratic progress, but it is indispensable to it. Let me once again express the deep gratitude of my administration and I, and my Vice President Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, and the people of Ghana for your visit to the office of the President. This is more than a symbolic gesture. This visit signals your commitment to partnership, peace, and progress. May your reign continue to be long and impactful and guided by your divine wisdom. May the Ashanti Kingdom flourish, and may our dear Republic, Ghana, forever benefit from your example, your counsel, and your unwavering patriotism. Otufo, Ghana mind awase. Rule of law, protecting human rights, and reinforcing the very foundations of our democracy. We gather here not just to administer oaths, but to inspire hope in our institutions, the future of our police service, and above all, hope in the enduring power of justice to unite and elevate our nation. I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the newly appointed members of the Council, especially to Her Excellency, our Vice President. Your selection is no coincidence. It reflects your integrity, expertise, and proven dedication to serving your nation. You've been called to serve at a critical time when public confidence in our institutions is being tested, and when the Ghana Police Service must reposition itself, I dare say reset itself, to meet the growing expectations of the Ghanaian people. You're now custodians of one.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored.
Good morning, and thank you very much for choosing Pan-African Television. I hope you had a good week. Welcome to today's edition of the Mother of All Talk Shows, Alhaji&Alhaji. I am SENA NOMBO. Here we say it as it is. No matter who is involved, in the end, we'll leave you better educated. We are live on Pan-African Television. We are live from our studios here at Abelinkpe. We are live on social media, on Facebook, Pan-African Television, on YouTube, Pan-African Television. If you join us on any of those two platforms, your comments are very important. Take a minute and share a thought or two on the discussions we'll be having today. We'll also be sharing with you on the screen a number you can send a text message and WhatsApp message to. Feel free and do so. But please, it is not a call line. Do not call it whilst the program is on. Just send a message. If you're lucky enough, I get to read it. If you keep calling, it becomes difficult for me to read your comments. So please do note. Well, this morning, we're having a discussion on an emergency that faced Ghana this week. It's been a few days, actually. This week, it intensified because the nurses decided to continue their strike action, despite the meetings with the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health, and then the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association and their members said they were not going to return because there was a proposal on the table that said, why not consider 2026 for implementation? That seemed to have agitated them the more. The ministry said that was a proposal. They were not forcing it on them? Well, it took the health committee summoning them to parliament to have conversations for them to finally decide. And they issued this statement where they address as much as possible many of the things they said they have issues with. And I'll go through the statement. This is signed jointly by Perpetual Fori Ampofo, who is president, and Dr. David Tinkran-Chum, who is general secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. And it says the leadership of the Registered Nurses and Midwives Association embarked on a roadmap of industrial actions on 2nd June 2025 with the wearing of red armbands, followed by withdrawal of outpatient department and emergency services, which culminated into a total withdrawal of all nursing and midwifery services on 9th June 2025. Our demand from our employer was simply to have the collective agreement of Ghanaian nurses and midwives, which was signed in May 2024, duly implemented without any further delay. Having monitored the misinformation, disinformation, and the propaganda that have surrounded our strike action, the leadership of the association would like to set the record straight of the following. 1. We are nurses and midwives trained to provide essential health services to the Ghanaian population, and matters affecting us, which are brought formally to the attention of the employer, must be treated with the urgency it deserves and in good faith. 2. As nurses and midwives, we do not take delight in seeing our patients suffer. However, we cannot take good care of others when the system does not take good care of us. 3. The GRNMA is a non-partisan professional association and trade union and a holder of the collective bargaining certificate covering all nurses and midwives in Ghana. In its 65 years of existence, the GRNMA has never aligned with any political party in Ghana. Rather, it has worked with every government since 1960 in building a stronger and more resilient health system responsive to the health needs of Ghanaians, whilst at the same time representing the interests of nurses and midwives in matters related to their welfare and general working conditions. Considering all that has transpired from 2nd June 2025 in relation to the pleas from the good people of Ghana, our patients, and the timely intervention of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, the leadership of the association wishes to state as follows. 1. The engagement held with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health and other interested parties on Thursday, 12 June 2025 was very fruitful and has paved the way for an amicable resolution of the impasse with our employer concerning the implementation of our collective agreement. 2. In view of point 1 above, the GRNMA's industrial action initiated on 2nd June 2025 is hereby suspended pending the outcome of the follow-up meeting scheduled for 26 June 2025. We call on our DNSs and midwives to resume their normal shift duties from Saturday, that's today, 14 June 2025, and assure you that we will not rest on our oars until the collective agreement is fully implemented. We are thankful to the chairman, ranking member, and other members of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health for their timely intervention to set a clear framework for implementation of our collective agreement. We are equally grateful to the nursing and midwifery fraternity for the deep sense of solidarity in adhering to the roadmap. To the press, and I was watching the live feed whilst the president and the general secretary were reading this particular statement, and the comments I saw, particularly the press was a big target. It says to the press, we thank you sincerely for carrying our voices to Ghanaians, and indeed the whole world, and encourage you to be professional in all matters to protect citizens from misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda. Well, that's the statement they issued. So starting today, you see all nurses back to work. That's the directive from their leadership, Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. There were 4 other unions that were not on strike, but the GRNMA had majority of the numbers. So you could feel the impact of the strike. Well, we'll discuss that in our very first discussion, very first topic for discussion, and then we'll move on to a discussion of the New Patriotic Party, because every week it seemed the battle for who leads the MPP into the 2028 elections in 2025 has already started, because you see people taking positions already on who should be what. We'll discuss that and conclude with a matter of deep concern to the globe, to every one of us. the escalation of the fighting between, now Israel has taken the fight to Iran, and now it's between Iran and Israel. This, as of yesterday, the prices of oil on the international market had gone up by 7% because Iran is a major producer of oil. We'll be discussing this and what it means to all of us. So those are the issues we'll be discussing today. And join us this morning to discuss these issues, as always. Always a pleasure seeing him in the morning. Kwame Kwesi Pratt Jr. is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. His voice is one we love to hear on a Saturday morning. It's a constant reminder of where we are coming from and where we claim we are going. How far down have we gone down that road? And of course, we're also joined by Dr. Dixon Adomako-Kisi, who is former member of parliament for Anyaso Wutum. Doc is now returned to medical practice full-time after leaving parliament. I don't know if you have any intention of going back to parliament again.
Well, we'll see what the people say.
I see. And to my immediate left is Dr. Thomas Anaba. Dr. Thomas Anaba is a member of the Health Committee. He's MP for Garo. So he was in that meeting they held with the stakeholders in health. And of course, the Minister of Finance also had to be there, and Wages and Salaries Commission also there. So we'll start that discussion with him. But before that, Solomon Owusu is now known on X as the cook. He said he's always cooking. He's a member of the Movement for Change. He will complete our panel today. A big thank you to you. Of course, you are an important part of the show. Well, let's start the discussion off and start from, like I said, Dr. Thomas Anaba, who was in that meeting. Doc, on the matter of the nurses' strike.
Good morning to you. Good morning to my colleague panelists. Good morning to Ghanaians, especially the good people of Garu. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to be on Alhaji&Alhaji. This is my first time, and I think I've come in to deal with topics that are of serious concern to the country. Yes, I'm a member of the Health Committee. Okay, I've heard you. I'll do that. I'll do that. Once you're outside, I know.
This is your first time.
Right. That's fine. Yes. Discussing this matter of the nurses' strike is, you know, very much that it is dear to my heart, and it is not because I'm in that committee. I'm always very passionate about the health sector, and always unhappy when there's a strike in the health sector caused by any union. So this strike, for me, did not sit well with me. But let me start by commending the nurses, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwife Association, for at least finally heeding to the plea of the Parliamentary Select Committee and the leadership of Parliament to call off their strike. They said they've suspended, to suspend their strike, pending a 2-week time we've given ourselves to meet again to see what we can do. I think a collective agreement was signed, that is true. And then all collective agreements, when they are signed, there must be implementation to it. Collective agreement can be signed, but doesn't mean that it cannot also be modified. I want to present myself in a way that I wouldn't be throwing much light about how we are negotiating it. And I have to be cautious because I'm part of the team in Parliament that is working to see how we can find an amicable solution to this. So what I'll say here may be from my point of view, and also trying to throw a little bit light to some of the general issues that everybody has heard. Yes, the agreement was signed, and a group of nurses took it to court, indicating that they were not part of the team that negotiated for it. So it was brought to a halt. It wasn't implemented until in January, when it was officially the government was officially informed that the impasse between the group that injuncted the implementation has been resolved. But from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, when we met, the indication was that they had the official report that the issue has been resolved between them in April. No, in February, meaning that by that time, all ministries who were preparing their budgets were virtually done. So it means that they couldn't get their budget, their demands into the budget of the ministry. Because budgets are not prepared when they are reading it in Parliament. I'm sure the senior parliamentarians are here. They do it in the ministries, departments, and agencies ahead of time, present it to the Ministry of Finance. They look at it and scrutinize and see where they can handle before they bring it to Parliament for approval. So what the Fair Wages and Salary Commission indicated was that they had the official letter in February that they have resolved the impasse. But during the transition, Dr. Graham asked the transition team whether there was anything hanging by any union on conditions of service. And there wasn't any report from the previous government who was handed over. So finally, this thing came to his knowledge, even though they said they had informed government early. They should have, you know, you don't just talk orally and verbally. There must be a written document to prove that this is ongoing or this problem has been resolved. The court the people withdrawing the case from the court present all the documents to the negotiation team so that they put it into the budget. My problem is that the information got to me. It got to those who could have added it into the budget a little bit late. However, what I'm happy is that government is not saying he will not honor or he will not implement the conditions of service. Government is only explaining that because budget has been read and there's no fiscal space, we are all undergoing serious challenges currently with funding for many things. Unfortunately, if you check in the health fraternity, the largest chunk of staff or workers are the nurses. So even if you want to give each person even 10 cedis in the nursing sector, you want to give 10 cedis to those in the imaging sector, you want to give 10 cedis to the pharmacists, you see that the nurses will take a whole bulk of money. To satisfy them would require a lot. We all know and understand that their role in the health sector is very vital, it's undisputable. Without them, frankly speaking, the health sector may collapse because they handle virtually 70% to 80% of the work. They deal directly with the patients. Doctors will do their prescription, do their surgery, do whatever. Women will give birth, they will have to handle them till they leave the place. Government is saying that understand us, allow us and give us time, let's see how we can implement this. They didn't accept to that and really went on the strike. So our call for them, I wouldn't say we summoned them to be a little bit respectful to them. We invited them and they came. We put across the position of government. They also put across their position. We got to the middle to agree on something, and that we are not divulging for a fact. We got to an agreement that they should go back. One, because you can never put a gun on the head of a leader and say, if you don't do this, I won't do this. For a father, he's a father. You always have to go in a little bit way of trying to persuade. So our activity was really to get them back onto the drawing board. Whilst working, the government can also what? Listen to them. Because if you're on strike, which government would agree to listen to somebody on strike? If you saw the example of Zimbabwe, I remember when doctors went on strike for a very long time, what did they do? The government just said, okay, all those on strike, you are all off, you are not more my staff. Now apply and join. And if you apply to join, you have to sign an agreement that you will never go on strike again. We don't want to get there. We don't want to get there. But the fact is that the nurses have complained, people have lambasted them, they are politically motivated and the rest. We don't see this to be a big problem, because it is a society in which we live, that we all know that many things have been politicized in this country, even if by default, one of your members, if by default one of your members is married to a prominent member in NPP, the layman on the street would have no option but to comment that your husband is feeding into it. But we know you are a professional person. So I think that the strike, actually, the nurses have a right in demanding for their conditions of service. The government also has the right to explain to them that if we try to go by implementing the service in this state of the economy, we would collapse perhaps the gains that will derail the gains that we have already made. IMF is honest, and then the rest. So give us time to implement it. That is what I think. But to be honest, I looked at some of the conditions, and I want to humbly appeal to the nurses. The last point, which is on Appendix B of their demands, which says that continuous professional training, development support, that government should pay for the renewal of their licenses. This is where I think that most professionals have seen it, and I've also seen it. I have been a doctor, and I'm still a doctor. Every year, I renew my own license. I go for continuous professional education, get my points, and go and renew and pay myself. All other government health workers renew their license, paying it by themselves. So putting this thing inside there, at least would call for other unions to also demand for it. Professional renewal of your license is not the duty of your employer in any institution in Ghana or in the world. It's the duty of the staff or the employee to ensure that you renew your license and work. That's why I think that if they say the agreement has been signed and sealed, it cannot be changed. Some of us, honestly speaking, I agree they need conditions of service. I know the work they do. But this point to some of us cannot hold water. Because architects, they renew their license. Pharmacists renew their licenses. Radiographers renew their licenses. But they pay themselves. Doctors will renew our licenses. We'll go for our CPDs, pay for them, and renew our licenses. This is where the government may have to look at to see where they can also have the responsibility to renew their licenses. Or else we'll land this in up, and the demands will come on government that everybody working with government must help him renew their licenses, which shouldn't be the case. That is a point that I think that can be looked at again. There's another point of 1 month basic salary as a 13th month. To be honest, this has become an albatross onto the various hospitals, because it is the hospitals that are supposed to pay. And we know very well that not all the hospitals can generate money to pay for that. That is actually flagged to be looked at in general. When we were analyzing the budget review before the passage, these problems came up, and we think that it must be relooked for us to understand, because some hospitals have been able to raise the money to pay, other hospitals have not been able to pay. So it is not that all hospitals are paying. Most hospitals are not paying because they can't raise the money. But what I want to conclude and say is that nurses are very essential to the health sector. But if we want to implement a policy that would derail the economy of the country and make all of us worse, I don't think it's going to help. The next point I would like to touch on is to look at the general conditions of service of all workers in Ghana, vis-a-vis that of the nurses. We have state institutions that I'm a doctor, an assistant, a secretary, even cleaners can come to a hospital and have full medical treatment care taken care of by government. But we doctors and nurses have always cried for this. You are sick, and sometimes you have to pay 50% of the treatment you receive from the place that you are working. I think the allowances and other things, the whole country, we have to look at it, conditions of service, we have to look at it and assign some grade or levels to it. And also separate those who are into essential services and give them a level or the same conditions of service. Whether you are in the nursing sector, you are in the military, you are in the police service, you are into the prison service, let's give them some basic conditions of service. Then after that, we will now see the differentials, even amongst even the health workers. They can be, the conditions of service can be different. The reason is that you have a nurse at NICU who works tirelessly over the night, standing with a baby throughout, and you have a nurse at the dermatology department who virtually comes 8 hours and goes home, hasn't got that burden. They don't call the person in the night to come and do cover-ups and all those things. So I even think that this one conditions of service fits all, and one salary fits all in this country must be relooked. You go to the US, an intensivist and an emergency physician, a dentist, neurosurgeon, they don't take the same salary with other doctors. Every category must be relooked at, and his contribution to this health service delivery really quantified, so that we'll know how much salary he should get, how much of conditions of service he should get. In that way, we'll solve this. All in all, my dear nurses, we appreciate your understanding of the committee and appreciating that you have stepped down the strike and gone back to prevent one more life to be lost because of your absence. We hope that in 2 weeks' time, when we meet as we've promised, we'll continue to jojo and understand ourselves the way we understood ourselves the day before yesterday, so that the good people of Ghana will really have your services delivered, because their absence really created a lot. I know of a doctor who was treating his own brother in the house because there was no nurse in the hospital for him to take him there. So thank you very much, our dear nurses, for heeding to our call, but take it in good faith. Definitely, if you go on strike and meet people are dying, people will get anxious and say things that you may not like. So for that matter, you also have to weigh the profession we are in. I say we are a profession of compassion, and we must do everything with compassion. Though your own health, your own needs are important, but once it is your conditions of service, not your salary, though others are benefiting from it, still give government the benefit of the doubt, and let's jojo. Whatever be the case, tomorrow you reap the fruits of it. And I'm sure government has really listened to us. They are going to meet, the minister is going to meet with government, and they come out with a final decision on how to roll out this. I heard the secretary, the general secretary, saying that at least they should roll it, they should start rolling it out. Yes, that is what I think, rolling some aspect of it out, whilst we still look at the whole agreement and then conclude on how it should be implemented fully. Yeah.
Doc, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Anaba is a member of the Health Committee of Parliament, member of Parliament for Garo. Let me go to the former member of Parliament, Dr. Adumakokisi. Doc.
Yeah, thank you, and well spoken. Based on your point of view, there are a few things that are worrying. And let me be a bit difficult here. Globally, Ghana is shipping out too many doctors, too many nurses. We are losing out in terms of our incentives that keep our nurses in this country. It's a huge challenge. We're losing very good skilled nurses to UK, to US. And that is the times we're in. Brain drain. I've even told some of my doctors that it is unfortunate that during slavery, we were working on farms. They were taking our strong, well-able people to go and work on farms. Now, We are working on health farms by virtue of us signing up to go. Not them coming to take us, but we ourselves, with our intellect, knowledge base acquired in this country, are going on international health farms. It's unfortunate. And many governments have come and gone. And this issue has to be carefully addressed. Some of our own doctors admittedly cannot buy homes in this country, have their children go to quality schools. And that is wrong. You measure conditions across countries. Botswana nurses are getting more money than medical doctors in Ghana. It doesn't make it right. It's troubling. Health is expensive. Healthcare is expensive. The service given or rendered is based on many years of education and training. And in as much as we should be compassionate, now compassion will go chop. No. You need the comfort that makes you enjoy what you're doing. And for that matter, I will speak for the nurses today. And in speaking for the nurses, I'm speaking for all health workers in general. I worry because overnight in UK, suddenly our nurses who make it there can even come for their entire family. Sometimes they even go with their entire family based on the arrangements they have. And those incentives are very enticing. And you know, my American experience, sometimes, let me tell you the truth, when you get an offer from another company, you can show the offer to your current company and they will have to match it or else you leave. I mean, that is how sometimes, you know, the American landscape is. So how are we mirroring the British conditions of service? I'm not saying that if you are getting paid $120 or pounds per hour, we should pay that. No, but at least some incentives that will make life enjoyable. I remember when my dad was teaching, you know, he taught in medical school. Those times, Legon would provide school for their kids, the lecturers and things like that. And university primary, I mean, those were exciting times for lecturers in this country. And it used to be a symbol of bourgeoisness. Oh, if you're a lecturer, professor, your kids, you know, and then it also helps with the kids bonding and things like that. So my key point here is that we shouldn't look at only the numbers, but there are many ways to make nurses' life enjoyable. Now, it is almost becoming a bit difficult for me to swallow one thing. There's a party who, in their manifesto, promised to end nurses' allowance. So I'm not surprised by the delays in trying to even attend to these conditions of service, because SENA, in truthfulness, this one, let me just say it on air. When it comes to health workers' conditions, whether we like it or not, the Mahama administration stopped postgraduate education support, which was there under Kufuor's regime, and we reintroduced this with the Ghana physicians and surgeons under the administration of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Car duty, you know, freedom was there by the MPP. NDC came and stripped it off, you know. So let me say that for me, the track record of the NDC with regards to health workers in this country is not something that I'm very proud of. And anybody can have a different perspective about it. But I think that there's something innately wrong to think that buildings take care of patients or equipment alone take care of patients. I had issues with the first round of Mahama's administration because he was big on facilities, but not big on the human capital aspect. And this one, many people can argue it out. I will state categorically that the NDC administration needs to be very mindful of the human capital component of healthcare. A happier nurse gives you happier, better patient outcomes. This is the fact. So you cannot necessarily sit down and be boasting that, oh, we renovated Rage, we did UGMC. Please, come on. UGMC will not take care of the human beings. It's how the nurses receive the patients there that makes a difference. You can have a very fantastic facility, but if the nurses are bomb, forgive me for using that word, people will not come. So, Yura John Dramani Mahama, I'm pleading that that perception of forgetting the human capital component of healthcare has to be looked at. And I say this with the greatest respect. I know he's into health. I'll not discount his contribution to health in this country, but those aspects, continuing education, soft loans or support for nurses in training, employing nurses timely, employing doctors timely, please. The World Health Organization has ratios of nurses to population. We are behind.
We've hit the target.
We've hit the target. Good. Doctors that we are behind because many are leaving. Yeah. So I'm pleading. I mean, I heard of this Barbados thing, which former Minister Jimamenu was pushing, but that is not conditions of service. So I'll plead, and you know, there's something that someday maybe will change. I'm of the American training. You pay me well, then I can buy all those things you're talking about. I mean, if you pay me well, I can go and buy clothing to work. If you pay me well, so I don't like, I don't know if it is British to state categorically your clothing allowance and things like that. America, I mean, when you work, there's nothing like clothing allowance. They'll pay you well so that you can afford the car you want to buy. They'll pay you well so that you can rent or buy the house you want to get. So I think that we need to actually look carefully at rather either helping improve the salaries and sometimes dog these, as they call it, itty-bitty things that you add to, you know, bloat your salary. It's like you are doing, you know, I don't know, just padding things unnecessarily. That's my opinion. Pay people well. Don't tell me I have a house in, if I go and work in a rural area. Pay me well so that I can buy a home in Accra and maybe another, and rent something where I'm working. So I'm of the opinion that, one, the human capital aspect of healthcare in terms of nurses, cleaners, or ancillary staff needs to be carefully looked at so that the incentives are good enough that we don't lose our critical care nurses, intensive care nurses, neonatal specialist nurses to the Western world. And I also would hammer that, listen, Honorable Akando dropped the ball. He failed to put this as a front burner issue. And that one, he cannot argue any other way because he was very strong as a committee ranking member in the previous administration. And in fact, he cannot say that he was not privy to every action and inaction of the nurses. And may I say that supposing President Mahama didn't know of these conditions of service that are outstanding, then what is his role as a minister? He's supposed to bring it to the president's attention. And for that, I think he dropped the ball, and then maybe his posturing did not help the situation when the nurses sat with him. And I'll plead with all Ghanaians. I mean, government should never pitch health workers against the population. I saw a little bit of that and I was not happy. Okay, I mean, this chronicle points out that nurses are demanding 588 million for funeral allowance. Come on. If that is even the amount, it is based on when you lose your mother or father or your children or spouse. So it is not, it's like an insurance. Not everybody is going to partake of it. And these are the erroneous perception we are putting out there. Healthcare is not easy. It is the only job that you sit down and people come and tell you their problems. That is the job. So you go in, whether you are in pain as a doctor or a nurse, you have to swallow it and put up a very nice face. You know, you may have even lost your father in the morning, but you go to work, put up a nice face as if nothing has happened, so that you can receive and give positive vibe to your patients. In concluding, our nurses need better attitudes. I agree. And I would encourage them to give people what Florence Nightingale did: compassionate care, be empathic, and through it all, study your trade well, and know the nursing duty in toto, and administer it well. And I think that as it stands now, Oliver Twist, we will always demand more and better services and better conditions. And I think that one thing Satekpa said yesterday in his interview, that no government can work without crisis. You should always be ready. As we speak now, I'm surprised that the NDC is talking about Iran. It used to be that anytime the MPP says that, oh, something international is affecting us, hey. Now, the likes of Okudjato Ablako admit that post-COVID things are different. The likes of Mutala can now admit that, oh, Russia, Ukraine, oh, blah, blah, blah. And now, today, there's a little bit of noise about Iran because fuel prices will be affected. And you know what's interesting? A couple of days before that, everybody was projecting downward, and God is on the side of Mahama. If not on the 60, when Monday they would have increased this 1 Ghana thing. And fortunately, maybe because of the happenings in Iran, the minorities' plea that they reduce the 1 Ghana maybe had. So, in summary, our nurses are suffering, and I wouldn't say that it's just limited to the Mahama administration. Yes, Nanado made an attempt, and it was the psychiatry nurses. You said that some nurses went on to court. It was the psychiatry nurses, and I can go into all of that, but it's unnecessary. All that happened is that government would have probably prosecuted this last year, July, except for some of these court cases that were internal, and put an injunction on government taking action. And government promised that at least after elections, because the MPP was so bent on winning the election, though Fufie Antuata, Yediko Guye, Yelusu Poto, Ama, these things did not happen. So the government is a continuum. The sins of the fathers will be put on the children, and the sins of the previous administration will be, you inherit both liabilities and assets. So NDC, if we were haphazard, please manage better. It's your term, it's your tenure, and we are in your hands. President Mahama, the nurses are in your hands. Do us something marvelous. Don't strip us of our, things that are due us. And let's change the narrative from a government that was stripping nurses allowance here, left and right, to a government that is even rather bringing chocolate to the nurses. You know, so this is my small contribution to this issue. There are many others, but today I'll go gentle. If I want to do propaganda like Akando, wallahi, it would have been a very fantastic show today, because he did us, let me use the word, dirty last year, but me, I won't do that today.
Dr. Dixon Admakukis is former member of Parliament for Anyaso Utom. Just by way of correction, the NDC's 2024 manifesto promises to continue the nurses' allowances, not cancel it.
It was before.
Yes, the earlier manifesto. Yeah, yes,
okay.
yes.
So there's been some changes. But they are known for that. So.
Well, a couple of comments. This one is good morning. Kucho, who sent this, please stop politicizing everything, because nursing is a work of God-fearing people. But our politicians change it to change the formula. But nurses midwifery should remember a single soda has been lost because of the strike. God, okay. Thank you very much for the comments. This one says, our nurses are the only workers in Ghana. They should give us a break. Dr. Admako should also compare the salaries of teachers in Botswana to that of Ghana. All workers deserve better. Teachers pay the fees of the awards in the schools they teach. There's Joachim Alatiga, who says, Honorable Dr. Anaba's submission on the nurses' strike was commendable. I fully agree with his position that the renewal of a professional license should not be controlled by the employer. This responsibility should rest solely with the individual professional. Additionally, I support his call for the harmonization of conditions of service across all government sectors. There's Asanko in Santa Maria, who says, per labor laws, our nurses who are part of essential service providers, like the police, military, fire service, and etc., are supposed to go on strike. Why are the laws not being applied? Are they not being pampered too much? And Sanko Sender from Santa Maria continues to say, unjustified strike actions would continue to disrupt peaceful running of this country if steps are not taken to make it a crime or to impose or elect politically tainted workers to work in place of union leaders. As Sanko in Santa Maria. There's this one, Stephen Kobenya says, Madam Perpetua was linked to politics and a backlash because during the strike by labor unions on Galamsey, she told the world that they will not participate. It is all alleged that she's married to an MPP branch executive at English Amafro. That's Stephen who said that for Kobenya. Stephen, thank you for the comment. There's this one is a good morning. I'm shocked to hear the nurse and midwives are demanding for funeral grants. What do they think of themselves? Are they the only people who attend funerals? This unthinkable request, who proposed that for them? They want to continue the strike for people to die, for them to be given. Why? Charles sent that from Joapon. It's not money they pay to them when they attend funerals. That's not the essence of the funeral allowance. No, that's not it. Yes. There's also...
I think Ghanaians must know that the condition of service, we have the general ones, and this one applies to every government worker, every institution.
So every government worker.
Yes, there's some amount given to you when you have a funeral for social activities. Yes, they even give you a car, a bus to hire if you are living far away to go to attend to your funeral. That one is done for every government worker in this country. It's not only for nurses. So they are not talking about those ones. They are talking of the 8, which are different, specific to them. But the general ones like travel allowance, funeral allowance, and all those things is something that exists in all government institutions.
Yeah, thank you. This one says, hi, this is not about policies. Don't you think that NDC are on the same train as in putting 1 cedis on 1 liter, which is almost about 9%? The person continues to talk about... Thank you very much for that comment. There is also this one. A very good morning to you all, especially Uncle Solo. I think as a nation, we should make sure nurses and doctors are bound by law not to go on strike, because the ordinary Ghanaian who suffers the consequences of their strikes are the very people whose taxes pay them at the end of the month. That's coming from George Streeter. Thank you very much for those comments. Keep them coming. Mr. Solomon Owusu, good morning.
Yes, good morning, SENA, and good morning to my co-panelist. First time meeting Dr. Anaba also. Anaba, yes. I know that Anaba, one stubborn Anaba in the family, lawyer. I don't know whether you know him. He was very close to me, so I consider myself an Alaba.
Thank you.
As for Doc, I told you that they made a mistake by not retaining him at Anyasotium. But our movement, which is metamorphosing into political party, will consider him because that is the only way out. No, we will field him as a parliamentary candidate. And he would understand it. Today is what? The 14th of June. Mark today's date. The future will be so clear for them. Comrade, good morning. Yes. Sena, what are we discussing? Nurses strikes. I mean, I'm happy that you started with the two medical doctors. You see, when the matter is home, they want to scratch the faces. Because, like they say in Twi, it's very difficult to separate their line of duty and also, I mean, saying it as it is. Because if you don't say it well today, tomorrow someone will play your tape for you to, as it were, appreciate. But unfortunately for that, I am not a medical person, so I am free to go. You understand me? These nurses and their strike, in all humility, in all truthfulness, is something that should never have happened. It should never have happened because of the way and manner they themselves carry themselves. You go and negotiate conditions of service as far back as 2024 May. It was to be implemented in July of 2024. Now, for some strange reasons, but make no mistake that it was the Professional Association of Psychiatric Nurses that sat down and said, oh, you will go to court and spend 7 months for the conditions not to be implemented. Then you will be living in a fool's paradise. 2024 was an election year. A government going into a major election that didn't want to hear or have anything to do with industrial actions to affect its chances, goes to agree on funeral grants, height and death allowance. Hey, SENA, this is the first time hearing about height and death too. That when someone is on the first floor, takes 2 sedated pesos as a daily risk allowance. You move to the third floor, you move to 4 sedated pesos. You move to then those in Bed Khalifa. You know Bed Khalifa in Dubai? It's about 100.
That does not apply to them.
Who told you? It's part of the negotiation. They are all part of the net. We are discussing their conditions of service. Who is a nurse in this negotiation? They went there as a union. So everybody in the equation is catered for. Is that the case? And it is the reason they are on strike. So let's discuss it. No, don't let anybody come and deceive you here. We are talking about conditions of service. Height and death allowance, because of that, they are home. Funeral grant allowance, they are home. 13th month allowance or salary, they are home. I'm a surveyor by profession. I'm supposed to renew my license every year. I don't remember the last time I went to government to go and pay for my renewal license. Because of that, they stayed home. People died. In any case, even whilst they are dying, we are dying. So that issue of when they go on strike, people are dying, is also something that I don't want to hear. But even when the doctors are there, they will do their best, their part. The nurses, they will do their part. But we will still die. Today that they are returning, we are still going to die. Death is part of human race. So a new government has come to meet these conditions. You need to judge with them so that all the issues that were agreed, the conditions of service that were agreed with the previous administration is implemented smoothly. This business of one, I've heard UTAG also threatening. Everybody is threatening. We are going to go strike. Everybody must strike. And then if the country collapses, are we going to live in Botswana? We will live in it. The least provocation, we are striking. So I can tell you without any shred of doubt that the decision that by the Professional Association of Psychiatric Nurses to take the mother body to court was not just accident, but it was political. The party then was being smart to prevent them from rolling out, because they were supposed to, as it were, implement these conditions of service as far back as July. But guess what? They were able to settle their matters in January of 2025. Mark the dates. We have been told by Nana Kumia, remember, that the NPP got to know that they will lose election 2024 as far back as January. So if I am going by what Nana Kumia said, that the party NPP knew of his defeat in 2024, we are all doing politics. Why do you think Gufo left single salary structure to Professor Mills? You set the trap and you leave it. You do a program, they call it National Science and Maths Quiz. You say problem of the day. They will give you the problem. Come and solve it. But I believe that one of the things that this NDC administration didn't do was to giving those ranking members at the time that they were in opposition ministerial appointments in the very same ministries. You understand? Because then it becomes a text for tat. And that is the problem Akando is facing. Because you spoke a lot in opposition. So if they are going to play back your own words, your own deeds in the same ministry, there was a reason why in the year 2001, President Kofo never appointed Dr. Richard Allen to the health ministry. Because he has spoken extensively on that sector. So to us it was save him and save the government. Where did he send him to? Rose. You can't come and accuse him there. So going forward, if President Mahama will listen to advice, these are some of the things that can easily work against your administration. When you have had vociferous people in opposition, opposing the other side, and you are now the substantive minister, how are you going to survive there? It's not a good strategy. you get my point. But everything about this strike is politically motivated. Take it from me. Look, the president, I don't want to go on this tangent of the husband is a weak argument who chooses someone's partner in life. He said, today I met a beautiful lady in town, and then I decided to, as it were, speak to the family and then marry her, and tomorrow she becomes the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association. What has that got to do with strike? Her own utterances is what you can use to judge her whether this is politically motivated or not. In 2022, I heard her say that the conditions prevailing in the economy was such that there was no way the government could have met their conditions of service. They fought. I'm paraphrasing here. So we fought. But when the evidence is so clear, you can't do anything about it. So they accepted government's position. What is the difference in today's situation? When labor itself accepted 10% increment, we all know that we are in a difficult situation. So as a country, we must do our best to move it to a stage where all of us can get what we demand. Workers pretend to be working, employers pretend to be paying. That is what we find, how we find ourselves. It's not rocket science, it's garbage in, garbage out. It's what the economy is churning out. That is what is shared or spread across board. Our economy is not that robust. And to that extent, when we begin to bring in examples of the UK and the US and Botswana, then you must also be prepared to answer the other aspects of the economy, whether it relates to our economy. We are at par. And if it is the going out or the mass exodus of our health professionals as a result of the better conditions outside, then I'm sure there shouldn't be any single person living in this country as a medical person or a nurse, because our conditions across board are not the best. I even have an issue with singling certain institutions out as essential service providers. It's misleading. The nurse needs a driver, a taxi driver, to move him or her to the hospital. Without that person moving the nurse to the hospital, that nurse will never get to the hospital. So the day that when GPIQ strikes, do you see the impact on the economy? But we never consider them as essential service. I was on a set with another communicator who was saying that, look, during COVID, we saw how the nurses suffered. I said, you must be joking. I'm a transporter. But for our intervention, they couldn't have survived. So if you classify nurses as essential service providers and leave transporters as not essential, then where are you coming from, the Mars or the moon? In any case, when you get to the hospital, the cleaner, if the cleaner does not clean the hospital and it smells, nobody could stay there and work. The carpenter has to provide the chairs. So in every economy, you must treat every service as essential. You would have gotten it right from the beginning. Look, as far back as 29th of May 2025, the Ghana Registered Nurses Association wrote to the Labour Commission expressing their intentions of going on embarking on an industrial action, that's a strike. 30th of May 2025, the Labour Commission wrote back to them and said, look, hold on. We don't want to have any industrial unrest. For that matter, let's all meet on the 4th of June 2025 and resolve these matters amicably. When did they embark on their strike action? 2nd of June. So from what I'm recounting, do you think they had any good faith or intentions towards these whole actions? You realized that the Labour Commission had something to do with it, so you wrote to them. They also wrote back that, hold on the 4th of June, all of us will meet. Then on the 2nd, you embark on strike. On the 4th, the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Service, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, and the Ministry of Finance met. They called all the executives of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, and none of them could pick the phone. Some of them off their phones. Total disrespect. You say the woman is saying what? Misinformation, disinformation, propaganda. If anybody has done propaganda with this strike, it's the executives. We must not be using our unions as a Ponzi scheme. And that reminds me of the Ghana Bar Association. The way and manner they behaved initially with the Tokono issue. You remember? Your first response? When the General Secretary of the Ghana Bar Association was asked, what is the position of the Ghana Bar Association? He said, and I'm paraphrasing, that look, up to the time he was speaking, the president had behaved within the confines of the Constitution. And so they have nothing to say about it. They would rather encourage the president to respect the laws of the land, and which he was doing. Then they started striking at them. They met at the Labadi Beach Hotel on a very fine Saturday like this. Said, have you been to the Labadi Beach Hotel before on Saturday? You don't go to these places. DJ Black plays on Saturday. All the beautiful music. Go there today. They met, ate, chilled. When they came back, they said the government had goofed. They were going to court. So when you behave like this, do you want me to say that you are not politically inclined? And that is exactly what the Ghana Registered Nurses have done. They are saying that the actions, they know the actions leads to a death of people. Didn't they know that before they embarked on it? They were exposed. Then they have been exposed. So there is nowhere to hide. You want to meet the Parliamentary Select Committee on what? Health. Except because by virtue of meeting them, you have called off your strike. Is the salaries or the the conditions of service going to be paid by the Parliamentary Select Committee? The body mandated. Finance Ministry will release money, Fair Wages and Salaries will negotiate salaries, Ministry of Health, the employer, and Ghana Health Service, they were waiting for you to deal with the very issue you took to Parliament. You refused. You refused. When you realize that your strike has been unpopular, you just decided to go and hide behind, what do you call it, the Parliamentary Select Committee on what? Health and zero. Because of what we discussed with them, we are calling off. That is total hogwash. Look, if you don't tell people our peace of mind in this country, they will take all of us for a ride. They will take all of us for a ride. Go to our various hospitals and see the sort of treatments that these nurses who today are calling for funeral grants, they give to our mothers. The last time my mother went to hospital, the cheek of it, a young nurse, an elderly person, what can she do? Disrespecting left, right, center. Then when you are there, you say we should give you 13th-month allowance because you did well by disrespecting the very person who comes to the hospital to pay. Today, what they do, when they are on duty, then they are on live, Facebook, TikTok, they are twerking and everything. At the hospital, some of them are even doing praises when the patient needs that peace of mind. All these things, because the public, we don't complain. Go to our major hospital, you need to pay the nurse before they even lead you. But our society, we know the truth, but we want to hide. We want to hide. Tools allowance. SENA, they say tools allowance. So I don't know whether the tools is this country. But you see, it calls for a total review of the conditions of service across board. We need to go back and realign what we do. I think we handle issues with a knee-jerk reaction. Especially in election years, the government of the day is afraid. They will gaslight you. Oh, if you don't do this, our members will vote against you. So they go and accept everything. That's why I'm saying that the government, the SO administration, they were very smart. They agreed, but they made sure that it will not be implemented by hiding behind the PAPNG for 7 months. Now it is your turn to implement. You see the way they are going about the infrastructure center. And this is not good for us. So if they have called it off, already we are dying. We welcome them back, but they must put up a very good attitude. They must not come and behave the way and manner they have been behaving in the past. Because they are living with us. Every profession matters in this country. Every profession. We must not look down upon other professions. You see, it has eaten into our moral fabric that, look, when you go to our various campuses, I remember when I was on KNUST campus, those that were doing medicine never respected those that were doing biomedical science, biology, and so on and so on. They said they are all rejected souls. You go to University of Ghana and see those that are reading law. They don't respect others. And I ask myself, what from this thinking? If the farmer does not go to the farm to farm for food to come, this morning as I came here, I've been offered malt. You think without this I'll survive? They were thanking journalists. Is that not the case? For what?
Said for putting their issues
Absolutely. Out. Why didn't they put their own issues out? So it means your role was so critical. But when was the last time journalists went on strike? Your conditions of service, have you exposed to the general public? Ghana Police Service, go and see their conditions of service. The army. All of us are in the same boat. And that is why, as a country, the issue of corruption must be dealt with head on. Yesterday, did you listen to the Attorney General? People still in this country without looking at their height, at least still according to the size of your height or the length of your height, they're still beyond their heights. A small institution called the National Service Authority, but even the figure that was put out there is the conservative figure. That 548 million. They go and steal, and when you are an innocent person contesting in your small constituency, they use that money to come and depose you. Ill-gotten wealth, ghost names. Hey, increasing returns. In 2018 to 2019, they stole 25 million. In 2020, they were sympathetic towards. They reduced it to 21 million. Then they shot it up. Election year 2020 to 55 million. Then when they realized that the Ghanaian was gullible, because after stealing all this money, you renewed our mandate in 2020, they moved it to 61 million, and 2023 credit, that was it, 350 million. And they came back to their senses and bringing it down to 32 million. These are the issues. This is why the reason why the Ghana Resident Nurses Association must strike. That why is it that few people who hold this country to ransom, and this is only the national service? Look at the people that are going to be prosecuted. Asibe, where was Asibe coming from? He was the former mayor of KMA. So if he could come and do this, it means he did worse at KMA. But the Ghana Audit Service, that institution must be scrapped. Where have they been all these years? Every year you claim to be doing auditing. So you mean to tell me that when you go and do your auditing, you don't see anything? That institution, who watches the watchman? Who audits the audit service? Who audits them? By now, traces the Ministry of the Attorney General's department must begin to go back to KMA and audit them the period that Osasibe was the mayor there. You see, Mustafa, I said the time with that number here. Akufo-Addo, when you steal, then he rewards you more. From the national service, where did they move him to? Please, allow. We are doing this today. We will do it together. Always, you come and sit here, you'll be watching us. You don't want your voice to come in. He was, as it were, moved to the Ministry of what? Youth and Sports. Ghana was going to just Cote d'Ivoire here. It's about 30 minutes by air to just go and play all Africa Cup of Nations. We were eliminated in the first round. This gentleman came back and told us that we expended $3 million. Hey! As if that was not enough. 13th All Africa Games. You remember 13th All Professor Amin Alasa, whatever you are, that man deserves a national award. You remember when he exposed the Eswal administration, that the GBC only took $105,000. Meanwhile, in the budget, they claim they had paid $3 million to the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. How can we be so wicked? Now they told us that they cooking alone. For Egyptians, cooking wache and ampesi for the Egyptians, Ethiopians, they expended $15 million. But they two and the wife did the cooking. Tax journalists, when you are going on a program, this paper just write your name, SENA NOMBO, Solomon Ousu. Sworn, then you put a frame on it. Even Olympic Games in France, for the whole world, the entire world, they expended only €700,000. Ghana here, All Africa Games 13th edition, we expended $4.6 million on tax, according to Yusuf Mustafa. University of Ghana Sports Stadium, Kofo had done it to about 84%, so we were left 16% to complete. That's the Titan tracks and some few fixtures and fittings. The gentleman looked straight into you and me, our faces, and told us that he expended $34 million to complete it. Meanwhile, Takwa Sports Stadium, newly built stadium, but Goldfish Ghana costed $13 million. This country, why are we like this? Why? What wrong did we commit? Renovation, 3 halls, Elizabeth Say, Liman, Kwapon, that stretch. It's a hall that is already occupied. You only fix air condition. This man told us they expended $16 million to do that. Because he has succeeded at the the National Service Secretariat, he was emboldened. And those faceless people who are the presidency, who also enjoy the booty, Mr. Attorney General, don't look at it on the surface. They couldn't have enjoyed this booty without the connivance of the presidency. Take it from me. From the office of the president and the vice president. Investigate. I have said NABCO. You remember NABCO? There was no way, nobody can convince me that they were paying 100,000 people every month. Do you believe that? But national service alone should tell you that that figure is padded. Oh yes, my brother. You didn't get some, that's why. They brought money to come and remove you from that place. But you will go back, inshallah. On our take it. The New Patriotic Party will not see the need. But you see, all these things has happened in this country. And the nurses and other professionals, UTAD is not concerned about it. All you hear is that book allowance. No. You must be demonstrating on some of these issues. And the youth of this country must be angry enough that your future is being toiled. We were told growing up that we must go to school, burn the midnight candle, go to the university. When we are done, you get jobs to do. And a lot of people have first degree, masters, PhD. They are home. These people only come 2 days, 3 days. They are filthy rich. They build everywhere. See the apartments springing up everywhere. It's not for these Lebanese and Indians that you see them. They are going to hide behind them and they are putting it up. And they will come and tell you and I, our children, that their parents were smart. He says smart working. Stealing from the state is smart working. Stealing from, and that is why you see a lot of people, young ones, now they want to enter into politics. When you ask them, what is your ideology? They don't have anything. All they know is that when I come into politics, by a year or two, I'll have a house at East Legon. Is that the motivation to be in politics? Everywhere, TV. So they should go back, SENA, and then negotiate with the ministry items that are doable, that can be contained by the budget. The ministry must consider it, but they must not be under any pressure to do what they cannot sustain. Because we are building a country, we are not building a political party. Whatever negotiations you go to agree, you are binding the entire country. Let's do what is sustainable. If every nurse or doctor will leave, let them leave. We will die here. Nigerians will come and take over the country and they will manage it for us. But I can tell you that this country will survive.
Thank you, Mr. Solomon also. And don't forget, we are live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. And you are sending us some messages through Facebook. And the page is Pan-African Television. And this is Francis Gordon, who says, all workers in Ghana are important for national development. Those who clean up our streets daily are also health workers, and the conditions of their service should be taken care of. Therefore, the termination of Zoom Lion contract was in the right direction to help us improve the lives of those in that sector. Let's take care of our human resource in all sectors of the economy. Nurses are not different. There's Dede who points out that Kufuor did the same with the single spine salary structure. Bagula Jamali says, Doc, with all due respect, your submission about infrastructure and human capital is below the belt. Every nation developed based on infrastructure first before human capital. Even as we speak now, there are so many graduates out there who are unemployed and jobless. What do you think is the reason? When President Mahama was building the E-blocks, what was the narration by then? The free SHS exposed it by the traffic system. So infrastructure is the beginning of job creation and employment. Please, let's be honest with ourselves and stop partisan policies. What GM did in 4 years, if Akufo-Addo was to do same, we would have been somewhere by now. Nasir Mohammed says a deliberate plan, this was a deliberate plan by the MPP to cripple the nation and the health service in particular and give the NDC government a bad name. This woman who only about a year ago was rather a government spokesperson against her own union, suddenly turns full circle and puts her union on strike. This will refuse to go on anti-Galamsey demo because people will die. All of a sudden, see nothing wrong with people dying. These are political leaders. There's Samuel James Aholu who says, Uncle Solu, thank you for your great submission. Always feel happy listening to you. You talk the truth. If we speak the truth, Ghana will move forward. Thank you, Solu, once again. Emmanuel Kujo Fojo Nyahe says, this guy is talking sense. Please tell them we all have to be honest to ourselves. You have a lot of more fire here. There's Nilate, there's Enochio also saying, truth without mincing words. Solo, my fireman. Kwe Noel says, you think, okay, he's not happy. Says, you talk on TV, all this about nurses, but when they go on strike, you cry wolf. Charles Thompson says Solomon also always speaks the truth to power when it comes to matters of national importance. Barbara Humenyi says this is the hard truth. David Domen says Solomon also is best. I like your submissions, keep it up. Nasir Mohammed says Solo is always on point. Then he asks, please join NDC.
What did he say?
They said you should join NDC. That's
But
what
they're not joining the movement.
And a couple of comments also coming from those of you who are sending us WhatsApp messages. Says, Mrs. Olubonsu, you have been speaking well, and let Mother Ghana, live on. I'm speaking from the Otu region. They do. Emmanuel sent that. There's also this one which says, SENA, so the nurses have a genuine case, but it looks like their demands without careful reflection is outrageous. Some time ago, Comrade Pratt said a U.S. soldier can walk into our country and check out anytime they want over their own ambassador. That's a condition of service, the nature of the job. Though ex-President Nana Addo disappointed us big time by these huge promises, some of us, Ghanaians, cherish initiatives like the free SHS to cushion us from the economic hardship, irrespective of where we find ourselves, even if unemployed. I think the government, while solving this issue, should look beyond the nurses. Many Ghanaian employees are having challenges with affordable accommodation, paying utilities, and even taking care of their family out of their salaries. Don't let the Ghanaian be a nurse or a politician to have a better standard of life. Let's send that. Thank you. Baba Alhaji from Elembele says, I want to ask the second panel member that did Nana Addo increase the salary of nurses and Mahama reduce by how many %? He should tell the listeners. That's coming from Baba, who sent that from Elembele. James Mano is also joining us. The government should stop recruiting nurses for hospitals, but should privatize the nurses and doctors to companies with the qualified professionals to take over nurses and their postings. The government will then pay these companies and the company will pay the nurses. Why is that nurses with the same qualifications like these government nurses who work at private hospitals and herbal hospitals don't go on strike? Late President Mugabe did same and sacked all striking nurses and brought student nurses to work. Enough of their bluff. That's James who sent that. There's Reverend Duff who says the way to solve this strike matters is not dishing out taxpayers' hard-earned money. The government to put all essential service sectors under the Ghana Army. Remember, 37 hospital and police hospital never go on strike. This one is a good morning. Abdul Razak from Pig Farm says, good morning. How are you and the panelists doing? Tell Mr. Solo that he should keep the good work done. Abdul Razak sent that from Pig Farm. Thank you. Okay. Must call. Okay, Anthony Tufo and Obuasi once says, please ask, Ghana must call all pensioners 60 to 70 years, 60 to 67 years. They stay at home. They are strong to work. Okay. He was asking that we should tend to pensioners. The nurses didn't take that kindly when the minister suggested that. Prosper Kalenji of Kasua says, why should they sit down with the nurses and their chairwoman doing this with the erstwhile government, and they couldn't implement a quarter of it, and that it will affect their campaign and election, so they could not do anything about it. Now, government, within 5 months, you're expecting it to have its way of implementation. They should give us a break. That's Prosper who sent that. So those are some of the comments you are sending to us on the discussion we're having currently. This is the matter of all talk shows, Alhaji&Alhaji, live on Pan-African television, also live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. Of course, we are live on our social media handles, Pan-African Television, Facebook and YouTube. Mr. Pratt?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think the point has to be made that there's so many millions of Ghanaians who cannot make ends meet. There's so many Ghanaians who earn so very little. Indeed, up until recently, drivers of parliamentarians were complaining that their pay was below the legal minimum wage. That's parliament. There are some Ghanaians who are married and they have children. And at the end of the month, they take less than 500 Ghana cedis. This is the reality. This is the reality. And some of them do very essential work. Some of them provide security for our homes. Some of them are in charge of the kitchens in our homes, and so on. So very crucial work. Now, even for some of our citizens who are engaged in fishing, the fishermen and so on, how much do they earn? So the problem of people not earning enough to be able to survive is not the exclusive problem of nurses. It's a national problem. And I think it's important for us to look at it from that angle. Look, if you take commercial drivers, they are crying. They've been crying for a long time. Talk to the taxi drivers. Talk to the trotro drivers. Talk to even the Uber drivers and so on. And when they tell you their stories, sometimes, if you're not very strong, tears come to your eyes. You see, these commercial drivers, many of them, when and if they are not able to make their daily sales, the car owners simply just take their cars and they become unemployed. So to avoid that situation, what they do is that they go to how do they call it? Money lenders and borrow money in order to be able to pay their daily sales. So many of them are living with huge debts and so on. So poor conditions of service, bad remuneration and so on is not an exclusive problem of nurses. It's a national problem that we have to look at. You understand? That's the first point I like to make. Now, over the last 1 week that these nurses have been on strike, we've heard very interesting and sometimes heart-wrenching stories. I saw on television, actually on Metro television, a woman was crying. She was crying. Why? Her brother, who only recently married, 31-year-old young man, had an asthma attack and was rushed to the hospital. The nurses refused to touch her. He died in their hands. Now, for all you know, this young man himself could be a victim of this neo-colonial, neoliberal national economy that we are running. But he died. He died. He died because government was not able to pay a 13th month allowance to nurses. He died. Then there's the story of a baby who was born in one of the hospitals. The placenta did not come out. There was no nurse to help. The mother died. Then I heard the story as told by mortuary attendants. I'm sure all of you heard them, saying that the numbers of people who were being taken to the mortuary, who were dying, was so much. One mortuary attendant said, "We haven't seen this before. So many people are dying." And I could go on and on with the stories. There was one particular story which was so very interesting. And I heard that story on Radio Gold's morning show, which you host, SENA, you host that, and you told the story. The story of a doctor who had to carry out surgery, very crucial surgery, on a midwife. And this doctor was not so clear as to whether he should do that crucial surgery or not. So saying that, look, if I do the surgery and something goes wrong, and this midwife has to be catered for. There's no nurse. So this doctor then calls the midwife and says, look, this is the situation. I have to postpone the surgery on you until the strikes are over. And the midwife said, don't worry. I'm a midwife. I'll make special arrangements. My goodness. Yes, she could make special arrangements. She and her colleagues were on strike, but they could make special arrangements to cater for themselves. What about the Kayayi? What about the commercial drivers I just spoke about? Could they also make special arrangements to cater for their health needs? Obviously not. Now, SENA, the strikes are over, or at least they claim that they have suspended the strikes. They will get their 13th month salary. They will get most of the things they're asking for, if not all, and they will be backdated. You understand? Backdated to the time when the collective agreement was signed. The people who lost their lives, how are we going to revive them? How are we going to revive them? Today, Jesus is not walking through mortuaries to wake up the dead. He's not there. He did that in the past. 2,000 years ago, he walked and woke the dead and so on. I haven't seen that happen anymore. They are dead and gone forever. Maybe even their condition is better than those who have debilitating health conditions for the rest of their lives, because for a period of 24 hours, some condition could not be taken care of. Shouldn't we be thinking about all of this in the evaluation of this strike and its impact on our society? Shouldn't we? You see, the stories we heard were so many. So many. Now, one of the stories that I heard, and it killed me, the leadership, or members of the leadership of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association. Add it for me, no problem. Actually declared a strike. They declared a nationwide strike. And then they hopped onto aircrafts and left the country. Unbelievable. Yes, they have a right to strike. You understand? But you declare a strike as a bargaining to whatever, so that your employers can talk to you, so you can reach compromises, so you can press your demand. Now, when you declare the strike and you leave the jurisdiction, what are you saying? You are not interested in talking. You just want to inflict as much damage as possible. You don't want negotiations. They declared a strike and they left the country. Oh my God. That's what they did. Unbelievable. And you see, what is shocking is that they should have sent a clear message to their members that their leaders are not fighting for them. Because if you're my leader, and you declare a strike, and you leave the country, how are we to make progress on the demands that we are making and so on? Unbelievable. But this is what they did. They declared the strike and they flew out. Amazing. They did it. But you see, SENA, look, the right to strike is a democratic right. is a right which is enshrined in the 1992 Constitution.
Yes.
Indeed, strike is a weapon that workers use in order to improve their conditions of work and conditions of life. Legitimate right. But we are told by those who know the law and who interpret the law and who work with the law that the enjoyment of one's right must not interfere with the enjoyment of the rights of others. This is a principle. This is a principle which is upheld in all societies by all people and so on. So nurses have a right to strike. Every worker has a right to strike. We should defend that right to strike. But what about the right to life of the 31-year-old man, recently married 31-year-old man, who died as a result of the strike? How do we balance? How do we balance? Where are the caveats when it comes to the exercise of the right to strike? You understand? These are important questions that we need to ask. Now, we say that, oh, nurses play a very important function in society. It is true. In fact, on this panel are two doctors. And the doctors sometimes tell us that they cannot perform without the nurses. Nurses are crucial. You understand? They are crucial not just in curing diseases, but also in preventing diseases. Nurses are so very important for every society and so on. But my goodness, the nurses, don't they need other professionals? The midwife, on whom surgery was to be performed, she needs others. Perhaps she needed an Uber driver to take her to the hospital for the surgery to be performed on her. When she woke up in the morning, she needed to eat. Which farmer grew the food? And so on. You understand? Medicines will be used on her. It is people in the pharmaceutical industry who may not be nurses who produce the medicines which will be used in performing the surgery on her. We are in the rainy season. She's going to work. She needs to be protected against the weather. She may use an umbrella. Are the umbrellas produced by nurses? Certainly not. If the roof over her house is leaking, a carpenter has to seal the leakage. That is not the job of nurses, and so on. So if all of us, including those who receive 300 cedis a month and 500 cedis a month and so on, go on strike, and our leaders leave the jurisdiction, they cannot be reached, no telephone call can reach them and so on, and behaved as the nurses behaved, what kind of society would we have? These are questions we should be asking ourselves. What kind of society would we have if all of us were to behave this way? President John Dramani Mahama has come and is pushing what he calls the reset agenda. Part of his reset agenda is that some people should no longer be taking ex gratia awards. Now, what if these people who take ex gratia awards also come and say, what? How can you reduce, what has been provided us since 1991? We're also going to go on strike. What then happens? And so on. Now, another interesting dimension of this strike action is simply the fact that it was declared illegal. Illegal. Because there are procedures for embarking upon strike. There are things that we have to do in order to make strike actions legal, the Constitution provides for the right to strike. But there's so many caveats also. Now, this strike was declared illegal. The nurses said, go to hell with the law. And the moment they said, go to hell with the law, they lost their right to enjoy the right to strike. Because the right to strike itself is provided for by the law. So if you don't respect the law, how do you then enjoy the right to strike? And indeed, the press conference they held yesterday, interesting. The press conference they held yesterday, what they told us was that they were suspending the strike action because they've met the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health and so on. Not that they were abiding by the law. Significant. Not that they were abiding by the law. And when the court decision was made known to them, what was their reaction? We are going to meet our members and we'll meet our lawyers first. Who said that when courts make pronouncements, we can refuse to abide by the pronouncements of the courts because we haven't met our family members and work colleagues and lawyers? Who told them that? You know? And they're worried. They are very worried about misrepresentation, disinformation, politicization, and so on. They commented a lot about that. What about them? The authorities came to you and said, look, we appreciate the difficulties we are going through. We have a crisis. We are running an IMF program, which I don't support anyway. You understand? There are so many conditions that we have to meet and so on. So please bear with us. What motives did they ascribe to the authorities? What motives did they ascribe to the authorities? Were they sometimes not engaged in the misrepresentation that they were accusing others of engaging in? And if they could engage in misrepresentation and so on, what about the rest of us in the society? You see? They were told that, well, the budget was prepared and this would mean that things in the budget have to be varied and so on. And it is not possible immediately. They said, no, we won't agree. Meanwhile, when the collective bargaining agreement was signed, which gave them all these allowances, some of which I've never heard in my life before, funeral allowance and so on, Master, where is that coming from? But okay, no problem. I mean, whatever you use to increase your pay, you know, putogumu, frigumu, nina, the same. So no problem, I'm not going to complain. But then they came back and accused government of bad faith. On what basis? When the collective bargaining agreement was signed, a section of the nurses, psychiatric nurses, went to court complaining that their own grievances had not been factored in by their leaders, that their leaders were discriminating against them, that the practices that their leaders were using in the negotiations were undemocratic. So even within the nursing fraternity, some nurses had problems with those leaders who declared the strike, accusing them of being undemocratic, accusing them of ignoring their conditions and so on. Now, this matter lasted until February. The collective bargaining agreement could not be implemented until February. President Dramani Mahama and Atufosin and so on, they were not in office. When all this was going on, they were not in office. The matter appears to have finally been resolved in February. That is the claim. But if you look at the strike and so on, it is clear that the matters were not resolved. Because it is not all nurses who supported the strike action. There were some nursing associations who refused to join because they thought that we were getting a raw deal from the Ghana Registered Midwives and Nurses Association, whatever it is called. Okay? So there were some who were still felt aggrieved and so on. Okay. Now, so in February, when finally the court matters were resolved somehow, we then needed to have a roadmap for the implementation of the collective bargaining agreement. February. The government had taken office on January 7th. And there were all kinds of problems with the transition. The government took office without a budget. There were only some provisional estimates which would enable the government to function for a while and so on. Nurses said they be that. That as for them, they don't see the difference between previous governments and current governments. And that once you get into government, you take over the full responsibility of your predecessor. That was the argument they put forward. Now, this argument ignored the fact that the transition to a new government comes with difficulties, comes with problems, which all of us must bear. But they ignored it. They wanted to have their pound of flesh. Okay? I try to read the Bible sometimes.
Really?
Yes. I try. There are many reasons for reading the Bible. And in fact, I recommend very strongly that everybody, if you can find time, read the Bible. Because it's a book which has been used for all kinds of purposes. Used to deceive, used to cheat, used to justify everything. So sometimes, let's read the Bible. It helps us all, you understand? And as I was growing up, there's a story which was constantly told in the churches. The story of I think it is not a religious story, but it has been told in the churches. I'm sure all of you have heard that story in the churches and so on. The story about somebody who was demanding his pound of flesh. You remember? Merchants of Venice. Thank you. Demanding his pound of flesh. Hey, this man will not budge. He wanted his pound of flesh. Okay, here is a knife. Take your pound of flesh, but make sure that no blood drops. I'm sure you've heard this story.
Yeah.
Hmm? And there are many stories also in the Bible and so on, which are similar to this story, which is told in The Merchant of Venice. So, okay, you want your 13th month allowance, 13th month pay, take it. You want your funeral allowance, take it. Whatever you want, take it. But make sure that nobody dies as a result of your actions. I mean, incredible what has happened. But, like my brother here, I like to take a very broad picture. The nurses have gone on strike because of these demands and so on. Now, what the nurses are demanding, there are millions of Ghanaian workers who also feel entitled to the same conditions that the nurses want for themselves. So, tomorrow, now they've met the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health, some concessions will be made and so on, they will be paid. Don't forget that as soon as they are paid, other categories of workers say, you are paying this to nurses, stand well, we are coming. So now, architects working with government also come and say, what? You have to pay our annual licensing fees for us. It will be legitimate because you've granted it to some others. Then doctors working for government come and say, we too. And then lawyers working for government say, we too. And then surveyors working for government come and say, we too. and on and on and on. And then drivers come and say, yes, we too will renew our license, our driving license, you have to pay for us. Whoa. Everybody comes. My goodness.
That's for the drivers, the MPs that are doing it for them.
Well, but that's MP matter. What do you think is going to happen? This country will crash to the ground. Okay. Now, there's only one way of avoiding that. And that one way of avoiding that is for government to be just open, transparent with workers' organizations. Indeed, it is time to involve the organizations of working people in running government. There's no reason why the leaders of organized labor, when government is drawing up its budget, cannot sit at the table with government. How much money have we made this year? We've made so much. How do we allocate the money that we have made? And this is not a decision by government. It's a collective decision by representatives of the working people and government together. The government and working people's organization must begin to work together. It's an imperative. If it doesn't happen, this country will collapse. The TUC must be consulted on all important national issues. The Ghana National Association of Teachers must be consulted, must become an important stakeholder in all the decisions that government would make. All the important decisions that government would make. You understand? NAGRAT, University Teachers Association and so on. Nurses, the Doctors Association and so on. We have to create a forum which enables them to participate in these important decisions so that they can see for themselves, feely, gani, what the issues are, what the facts are, and so on. They must be involved in making those decisions in order to avert unnecessary, painful labor actions. Look, no matter what you say, whether you like it or not, the reality is that petroleum prices have fallen significantly over the last 4 months. Significantly. I mean, from 17 cedis per liter to 12 cedis per liter is no small fall in prices. And that everybody knows, we all feel it. The government statistician says that inflation is dropping and has been dropping consistently over the last 4 months. The cedi is gathering strength over the last 4 months and so on. Some of the things that we used to see, the opulent display of wealth in government and so on, we no longer see on that scale. There's still some, but it's not on that scale. I mean there's still some. Oh, yes. I'm still driving to work in the morning, and so many four-wheel drives with sirens pushing us off the road and so on. It is not different from what happened under the Akufo-Addo administration. Who are these people with sirens? So many of them pushing us off the road and so on. What is this stupid arrogance which is still being displayed? So I know that some of it is still there. You understand? But at least it has reduced. You know that. It has reduced.
No, but this guy, A+ says that he now understands why the sirens, you know, and respectfully, I don't intend to cut you, but
you can cut me, no problem.
I'm pleading. There are some days that you have to be at 4 critical events. 4 critical events. And you know, even in government, sometimes a chairman is supposed to sign a certain document. And you're supposed to be there, not by virtue of you wanting to be there, but by virtue of the fact that for government work to begin. So sometimes, respectfully, they are not going to buy wache. Let me put it that way.
Sometimes it's worse than going to buy wache.
I agree with you sometimes. And other times it's worse.
I'll give you my own example. You see this road from Jimpa.
That back.
Yes, who passes Fiesta Royal and joins the traffic light. In the morning, I'm going to work. All of us are going to work. All of us are struggling. So much traffic. Then some car, giddy, with siren and so on, you know. Then pushes us off the road and so on. I peep into the car, and his children going to school. What check are those children going to sign?
No, that's
there is abuse.
Yeah, some of them.
And besides, the legal position is that there are no more than 4 people in this country who are entitled to sirens. That's the legal position.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been amended. That's right.
Yes. So those who are doing that know that they are behaving illegally.
So
and they should be stopped.
You conduct a citizen.
Every police car with a siren uses it. Are all police people on emergency? Every military car with a siren uses it. Are they on emergency? Stop troubling us. It must stop. That is a modest, that's arrogant misbehavior which must stop immediately. So there's still some of that. There's still some of that. And other practices which would smack of arrogance, impudence.
Or using a car without a license plate.
Yes.
Which must all stop, you know. But the point I'm making is that we've come to the point where, in the interest of the nation, and given the progress that we have started making now, everybody can see that we are making some progress. You can hate John Dramani Mahama. That's your business. Hate him all you want. You understand? You can hate Atufosin. That's your business. I don't care. But the point is that some progress is being made and needs to be sustained. And too many industrial actions, even if justified, may wreck the progress that we are making. And the only way to avoid that is to ensure that the working people are involved in the decision-making process. That you don't look down on working people. You understand? You don't look down on working people. They're important partners. The nurses are important partners. The commercial drivers are important partners and so on. And I'm sure that if we adopt this approach of involving all the different sections of our society in the process of making decisions and so on, we'll be able to avoid some of these unnecessary and burdensome agitations.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
Just
Thank you very much.
Key thing, though, just to be generous to Finance Ministry, many of these people are consulted, only probably not at the level at which they would love to be represented, but many are consulted.
You should consult at that level.
Aboso Kind comes in. I mean, Aboso Kind does come in through the Ministry of Trade. Makola Women comes in through either Agric or Ministry of Trade. So I'm just, only that, you know, there are so many things on the table. And when they are done, they appear to be not have heard, you know, but I'm only, you know, saying, and then quite frankly, unfortunately, some of these unions do not have astute people to verbalize their true needs. And I must admit here on TV that even the GMA, which is the Ghana Medical Association, does not have enough astute lawyers to, as it is, express themselves appropriately, you know, at the table, and that is, these are sometimes the challenges.
Okay.
And I think that along the line, all these bodies need appropriate equipment in terms of training to even appreciate the budget, the numbers, to then be able to make a determination that, oh, you know what, give me this percentage or that percentage. So there's a lot of work, and I would rather prefer that more work go down to training them to appreciate and understand the budget, where then if 3% is made 2%, then they can know that, this is heavy, this is going to affect me.
Okay.
You know, so that is I'm coming from the other side. But
anyway,
but I've talked about many topics that I think maybe we two will be able to talk on.
All right. Thank you. This Abbas Zamogo Inofinso says the strike was in bad faith. They could have given this government a few more time, some time. There's Dr. Akofasek Befia who says by their posturing, nurses have suffered an irreparable damage in the eyes of the Ghanaian public, and they have great PR issues on their hands if they have to regain the trust of our people. There's Koblavi Mpokwasi Bengazi who says suspension of nationwide strike by nurses is a good thing, which is going to save lives. Nurses should always discuss their problems with the government and find proper solutions to the problems rather than going on strike. Greetings to, okay, thank you very much. There's Hadi in Pig Farm who says good morning. A government just came to power in barely 6 months of all of a sudden, nurses and midwives are on strike. For what reason? Better conditions of service. If you are in a position to demand for better conditions of service, is it necessary to go on strike knowing the importance of service, the service your job provides? I won't be surprised if this is not politically motivated. God will see President John Dramani Mahama through. No amount of propaganda by the MPP will bring his government down. Inshallah, that's coming from Hadi, who sent that from Pig Farm. Musa Abatua says the nurses are confident that their strike is driven purely by professional concerns and no political motives. Then the most effective way to demonstrate this is by returning to the negotiation table and engaging the government in sincere dialogue. And as essential service providers, their primary responsibility is to safeguard lives, not to jeopardize them. At a time when lives are being lost in our hospitals, it is imperative to place the health and well-being of Ghanaians above all else. While advocating for better conditions is legitimate, it must not be done in a manner that does not compromise health or appear insensitive to the suffering of ordinary citizens. That's coming from Musa Batua in Kumasi. There's President Koforido says, as much as I sympathize with our nurses, I will urge them to have patience for the 5-month-old government of the NDC-led His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama to solve their issues for them. Ghanaians' lives matter and they must reconsider their strike decision. I do not think our nurses will be able to bring back all the people that have died during the period of their strike actions. So they must think of lives that will be lost through their strike action. On the NSS scandal, I will plead with Ghanaians not to think of voting for the MPP ever again, because MPP is a nation wrecker. That's coming from Prince Harry in Koforidua, who sent that one. Okay, Azuma Besori says, good morning. The nurses' strike and matters arising is not over. There's a looming labor unrest in the country if care is not taken. The outgone government of MPP intentionally left bargaining agreements to cripple the NDC government to make it unpopular with the workers and other sectors of the union. MPP has plans to work with some labor unions to cause confusion leading to the 2028 elections. That's coming from Azuma, who sent that. And there's also this one sent from a listener in the UK, Benjamin Morty, who says, I work for the National Health Service. I think that's how they call them in England. Nurses' pay varies according to 1, specialty, 2, location of the hospital, 3, number of years one has served, 4, nurses pay for their own renewal is their registration. By law, we don't go on strike unless we vote through our union with significant percentage. Well, so, okay, there's this one says, I am a community health worker under YEA. It's been almost 6 months now without allowance, but still, I go to the clinic to help these nurses because I know how tedious their work is. I am a young lady who gets food from home, and my house is closer to the clinic. So my mom always encourages me to go and help. But when I heard they were on strike, I was hurt because the nurses I work with knows our allowances haven't been paid. But I still go there to help. And there's no single time they offer maybe 5 cedis to help. Not because it's their duty, but just for appreciating some of us, for still showing up at work even without any allowance. So I've decided to stop going to help them. There's also James, okay, this one says the nurses should go to private hospitals and see how nurses take care of patients and stop the politics. There's this one says, I really do enjoy your topics every morning. Why must Ghanaian workers go on strike when they want their issues resolved? Nurses go on strike. What happened to their pledge? Must they also go on strike? What would have happened if any of their family members had an emergency need to be attended to. They must find a way to meet the government instead of going on strike. Francesca sent that one. There's this one which says, did I hear people say allowances for nurses annual license renewal is outrageous? Several civil and public institutions across the country pay annual license renewal for their professionals, pay monthly professional allowances, and pay bills on annual professional conferences as well. Maybe government had to look at members and numbers and realign with regards to nurses. But Ghanaian nurses deserve equal treatment. Edo Sechi sent that from Old DC. So those are some of the comments you have been sending to us. We have to move on to the very next discussion, which has to do with Dr. Dixon Adumakukisi's party, about the early race, in fact, very, very early. This is about 6 months after an election. Already there's jostling over who leads the MPP into 2028. So I'll start with Doc on what is happening within his party.
It's good you're starting with me. I think long and short, personally, I would have hoped that the party's leadership would have been changed already, in the sense that the Democrats in the U.S., within 6 weeks of the general elections, changed their leadership in preparation for the next election. And I'm not saying that change the leaders, but as in whatever change befits the party needs to happen. One thing is very certain, I like and love Stephen Tim, but it's clear that he's not coming again. So certainly there's going to be a new chairman of the party. And I'm not too sure about the secretaryship, who becomes, but be it as it may, those are the two critical positions. I'm only a bit too truthful about one key thing, that I think that the NDC, those two positions have parliamentary experience, and it's so telling on our results that I think that if we have people with the parliamentary experience, it might help us in terms of our decision making and our appreciation of local politics. And I say this, that unfortunately my party was not very cognizant of local politics. And what I mean by that is that if we go to Garu, maybe his family has done so much in that community, and if you move him, it makes a huge difference in the dynamics of the party. And for that matter, you'll be much careful in addressing Doc when you intend to do something. And I think that this was lost on us, and we just literally swept everybody out without paying attention to the local dynamics. And I think that our party also failed in that regard, in the sense that some members of parliament should have been allowed to, as it is, be on their own and not necessarily support any presidential candidate, because some were maimed for their declaration of support for others, for a particular parliamentary candidate. And I say this with the greatest of respect, that in the future, it is one of the things that needs to be carefully looked at, so that if it so happens that the dynamics in that area, and let me cite, for instance, forgive me, Boko, if it so happens that the candidate is favorable and should do only Boko politics and not the national politics, we must respect that. If you get where I'm coming from. So he'll never make a word or a comment about the presidential candidate, because it might trigger all kinds of things. So I think that this was lost on us as a party, to the extent that people are just doing private or personal entity decisions without the broader consultation. Now, my key point, reorganization is needed when you loose in such colossal quantums. And that means that the thinking, the ethos needs to be looked at. And I must admit that a return to what MPP truly was, a party where, you know, you can express yourself, have debates, and then the majority perception or the majority, you know, would carry the day, and not necessarily that one individual carrying the day. And I think that that had been lost on us. And for that matter, when varying opinions come to the table, people are, as it is, victimized for even just having a very good varying opinion. So I'm hoping that the new MPP, and whether we like it or not, it's going to be a new MPP, because silent voices are now being heard, and I think it will be a rebirth. We'll see a departure, whether we like it or not, from the 16-year reign of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and that one, regardless of who becomes the candidate. I think that there will be some change, because his kinsmen, not all of them will be part of us. I mean, I can cite, you know, the likes of Honorable Seli Ayokoboche, who's now European. Akutose, I can imagine him coming into the fray. And as for Alan Chamanting, we know is gone. So that changes, those are seismic changes, whether we like it or not. And the likes of Hackman, even McMenu, who's fit, but I think his role in the next MPP generation will be much different. So when do we do presidential elections in terms of flag bearer selection? NEC will be having a meeting next week. I think that one is not any secret event to, as it is, decide on the reforms that will be considered or not. One thing is key. Many have said we should expand our electoral college, but mark it on the wall. It comes with budgetary, huge financial challenges. And as for me, I think that the party needs to be very cautious. In opposition, it's not easy to run party activities. You know, to call a conference and even give TNT or 40 Ghana across about 240,000 people, trust me, is not a joke. So we need to tread cautiously. I've seen one very interesting one, you know, former MPs, former MCs. I mean, those are, let me say, staunch, they've been through the mill people, which I think if the party will give consideration to them to be part, it makes sense. So that it's like you're not letting go of your former executives. And the party needs people with experience. So that may help. But beyond that, there are some things that I know will not happen, but we certainly are in a social media age. And in fact, there's not even Twitter in the constitution of the MPP. Neither is there Facebook, neither is there TikTok. But I must tell you, these are doing damage to the party. Any apparatchiki of any sort, any kind of background can sit on social media and dole it out to you, whether they like you or not, or whether they can even write their own name. You know, and I think that is a bit worrying. So I'm hoping that there will be some level of disciplinary action stated categorically in terms of defamation, because a lot of people defame people whose hard-earned reputation has been, you know, worked on for years, and I think that there should be repercussions for such behavior, and I'm hoping that out of the NEC meeting, one of the very strong points which I'm hoping for is the call for unity and for people to tone down on their rhetoric. And in fact, we are all at liberty to go to radio stations and all of these things, but sometimes the rancor is too much. The rancor, I mean, listen, I may not like you, but I don't necessarily need to be verbally abusive. I do not necessarily need to use certain words on you for having a varying opinion. And we should learn to love each other and not hate ourselves so much that, you know, others will take dominion over what MPP is. So, as it stands, I think Educhum seems to be one of the names. Brian Echampon is coming in as well. I've seen the two, let me say, last contenders are also still on the fire. And even the likes of somebody that we were hoping could even take up chairmanship, Ejaku. You know, I really think that he's a very fantastic guy. Personally, I love his he's a very thoughtful, methodical person, and I think he can shape the party in the capacity as a chairman. But that is my opinion, and sometimes you need elderly men to shape the future for us. But I don't know what his ultimate plans are. You know, these things, we all consult some oracles, borrowing from Shakespeare. So if he goes to consult his oracles, maybe they might see him as Presidente. I don't know. I cannot speak for him. But from my own take on his oration, his posture, and his likability for that position within certain circles, he would have been a fantastic chairman. Even Kwabena Ejapong as well. But to each their own. Destiny is not in my hands. It's in the Lord Almighty's hands. So these are some of the things that are coming up. But invariably, to borrow from Brian Echampon, I think that we're hoping that people will keep together and be united, and that we revisit the ideals of the party, the original ideals of the party, and then people who are just vociferous, we need to tone them down and be a bit more intellectual in our, you know, thinking, and identify people who have very good capabilities and capacity to really turn around the fortunes of the party. And I'm of the school of thought that barest minimum, we ought to regain parliamentary seats in 2028. Barest minimum. And for that reason, we need to look for a candidate who can, without a doubt, make sure that even if we don't take the reins of power, our seats, because your relevance in this country, as the NDC has shown with 137 to 138, is your parliamentary seats. And that gives you the momentum. And for that reason, we may need a younger candidate too. Supposing we don't get to succeed in 2028, it should be the same candidate that can, you know, take up the battle in 2032. You know, so these are a few things that, from a strategic standpoint, and I remember talking to one of the chairmen in Greater Accra, and he said, listen, where we are, we need a strategic candidate. You know, not your regular orthodox, usual, candidate. We need a strategic one that can help us in 2028, 2032, and even if we're thinking out loud, 2036. And that should be what should go into the thinking and the making of our next leader. You know, Nana had it for 16 years. If it's going to be 2032, then we need somebody who can be around till 2032. Okay. You know, so these are, to say the least, you know, what's happening within the MPP fraternity. Certainly we've been dazed, my goodness. The loss you know, every now and then, when appointees get called in, you realize that, hey, we really are in opposition. And even if you're not thinking or forgetting, you get a reminder. You know, so as it stands. But I think that my goal, personally, my goal is to work for the MPP to become very attractive to the youth again. And that is, for me, a niche that I want to carve myself for. So I'm young, bold, audacious, troublesome to a large extent, and I speak my mind. So forgive me for speaking my mind all the time. And that one I cannot stop. I can't stop. I'm like the Tigo, express yourself. You know.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And of course, Doc was mentioning Honorable Brian Champon, who has set up an exploratory committee or something.
Yes.
That's supposed to look at the possibility of him running in the next elections. One person who has not made secret of his intention, he went on thank you tour and told everybody that, hey, I have stopped the thank you tour. I will run for the flag barrage. And he's been making some very, very poignant comment this week. It's Honorable Kennedy Ejapon, as him has declared. After him, Dr. Educhum initially declared through his social media handles and went to delete it. So it's quite interesting watching what is happening within a new patriotic party. Also, I go to Solomon also.
It's a difficult morning for Doc, I can understand, but a very straightforward matter under discussion. See, the reality of the MPP today is that, as we speak, they have 0 members of parliament from the Upper East, 0 members of parliament from the Upper West, 0 members of parliament from Uti region, 0 members of parliament from the Volta region, 1 member of parliament from the Western North, 1 member of parliament from Bono East, 1 member of parliament from Ahafu,
That's surprising.
1 member of parliament from Savannah, 2 members of parliament from Western region, 2 members of parliament from the Western region. For your information, Western region, we are talking about Takrady, Sekendi, Ketan, Takwa, Ahanta, and those areas. 3 members of parliament from the Northeast, that is the home region of their last flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. 4 members of parliament from the Central region, that is the home region of Kennedy Japan. 7 members of parliament from the Northern region. 24 members of parliament from the Eastern, that is from Brian's enclave, and then 38 from the Ashanti region. This is the Greater Accra is 5, not 3. Patrick Boma, and Trogo, and then which was Anya.
We have wages.
Okay, so then this has to be 5. So this is the reality. If you just suppose these figures or numbers to the 2020 elections, clearly this is a party that has declined, confirming to that bold statement that was made by Mr. Alhaji a week to the elections that the NPP was a declining party. And if you had eyes, if you had known this party for that long, you would know that I'm very surprised that people are even fighting to be flag bearers of the party, because there is no party. That is the truth of the matter. A car goes to have an accident. The car is totally destroyed. You have not even gone in to bring mechanics to assess the car. And after assessment, begin the maintenance. They are busily recruiting a driver to come and drive which vehicle. That is what amazes me. And I agree with him that elders could have shaped this situation. I mean, bring back the love in the party. But you ask yourself, who are the elders left in there who have what it takes to restore the once enviable party called the New Patriotic Party? Immediately you would have referred to the former president, Nana Akufo-Addo. But I wish he could make a statement on the NPP. I can tell you the next day, the entire NPP will chase him out. They will chase him wherever he is. So cleverly, you see, he hardly makes any statement ever since he left the scene. He's yet to make any statement on the NPP. He's afraid. He doesn't want to be heard. If you think I am lying, tomorrow radio go to Nana Akufo-Addo and just tell him to mention the name NPP. He will run away. The next in line would have probably be the chairman of the Council of Elders, Mr. Hakman Oswajima. As for him, when he coughs, people will even chase him. The mere fact that he will even cough. So the two are out. Then you would have come to the national executives. Mr. Stephen, I used with him. Recently, the family even issued a statement that he wasn't well. And that nobody must cajole him into any meeting, the settings, to force him to take any decision. This is the family writing officially. That they have heard rumors that they want to force him into a meeting to accept certain terms. They must not make that attempt. So he is also out of the fray. The rest, who else? Kodia. He that led the party to this heavy defeat, he said that they should maintain him and ignore the rest. Nanabio, Salam, asked for him any or small opportunity. He wants to show patriotism. This day we are using intellectualism, no patriotism. So the party is gone. There is no central figure to rally them around. And that is why this one has started by saying that it will be in the interest of the lives of Dr. Adumako to join our party that is coming. It was a deliberate statement I made. And I can say without any shred of doubt, I mean, the sort of things that are even happening within our political space does not assure the survival of the NPP. Corruption issues. Ghanaians are so much angry. This is only the national service. Maybe the people that you are thinking that they will contest in the future, by the time they are even done with all investigations and it is revealed that some of them are culpable, there wouldn't be any party. Like I assure you, those that are making themselves relevant that they are going to contest, some of them are deep neck in corruption. At least from what I've seen. This will not be rumors. These are realities. Gargantuan corruption that if people are told, and those in positions today are bold enough to speak out and not to embellish facts, I'm telling you, they will shelve their political ambitions. They will even beg. So when you are done with all these, where would that party be? And that's why I'm saying that it's rather unfortunate that they took Ghanaians for granted. They took those that built this party with their sweat and blood for granted. The selflessness that people exhibited, they took it for granted and made it a monetary tool. Now NPP is a monetized institution. If you don't have money, your matter doesn't go far. And that's why I was very surprised to hear that there's going to be a new NPP. There's not going to be a new NPP. They say recycle. I'm
very hopeful.
Ask for hope, everybody has one. We have been hoping since day one. Those that have hijacked the party, you see, credible voices like yours will never be allowed to dictate the pace. Take it from me. And who are those fronting the nonsense going on? Is it not the lives of Wuntumi Abonye? Yesterday I saw him say he has opened his own studio. Nobody can control him. He was saying it openly. So how are you going to control the space? How are you going to control it? It's a lost battle. Now Kennedy sends missiles to Baumia and Baumia sends back. Free for all. Last I heard Kwaku Kwati and then was it Awa Mohammed? Oh, no. That's transcended beyond common reason and how it's free for all. So, yes, I know your role. You have to micromanage the stage, give assurance, give hope to the hopeless. But I can tell you that the reality is that it is a lost battle. Boache Jakon himself told us before elections that millions of MPP supporters have left the party in their heart. So if you are not seeing him wanting to occupy the position of chairmanship, he knows it. That is a tedious work that he, at his age, he doesn't want to travel the length and breadth of this country in vain. That is why he's not out there for that position. It's not attractive anymore. And that's why you can have the likes of Wontumi say that he wants to be the national chairman, because there is a vacuum. Can you imagine chairman are meeting and who is the chairman of the new patriotic party? And once, oh my God, someone has been accused of having destroyed our environment, Galamsey, is going to be your national chairman. Then what policy? How would the people of this country believe you when you come and tell us that your party will fight against environmental destruction or degradation? Someone who has been accused of having not done any road but gone for $45 million. How would your party come back to the people of this country and convince us they can deal with the issues of corruption? But he seems to be the frontliner or the front runner in this whole fight. I have not heard from anybody that wants to contest as the national chairman. So where lies the future that you are talking about? I wish your candidate could do magic, Brian. But if he was to take my advice, I won't contest. Nothing will save this. I'm telling you that a new party will come that will take over from the MPP and deal decisively with the NDC and restore hope to the people of this country. That is what has to happen. So that sanity.
NDC wants to change their party.
Who? NDC wants to change their party. Hey! No. Movement to party. You understand? I'm not an NDC member. I don't want to be, and I won't be. That's why I said, come to my party. We can reason together. Say the National Women Organizer is our Kumsin. Can you imagine? So, SENA, it is not, I don't envy the MPP at all, because we saw it coming. We knew it would get to this stage. The real issue that they should tackle is to go back and do what we call reconciliation. They must forgive themselves. And the ultimate is to go and apologize to Mr. Alan Chemantin. He took some spirit out of the party. They didn't recognize it. He will not return to the party, but the first phase of, as it were, reassuring some levels of confidence is to go and apologize to him for all the bad deeds, for all the bad things that they did to him. For the mere fact that they wanted to bring Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, they needed to destroy Alan. You remember that SENA incident when they took the mic from him on the stage? We would go on campaign, every region we went, all the regional executives abandoned him. They didn't want to see him. We were on our way to Northern Region. We called Samba. He said he wasn't around. As for Northeast, they warned us not to come. They as it were, destroyed the eye of Ali Zakaria during an election. Ali Zak is there. He has family members. How would they replay all these events and still rejoin the MPP? That is the matter we are dealing with. The wife, yes, last I heard Samira say that, oh, it's contest of ideas. So disrespectful at, what's the name? President Kufuor's wife's 1 week celebration. Mrs. Chamante was there ready to shake hands with Samira. She even snubbed her. Arrogant second lady. When I was on KNUST campus, she never supported MPP. When we were going for TESCON meetings, she would be laughing at us. So all those that were in MPP then, when they reminisce those days and say, so is this woman rather the one telling us about MPP? They have all abandoned the party. I wish them the best of luck, but I can tell you, I'm not a doomsday sayer. It will be extremely difficult for the party to reorganize. Extremely difficult, Senna.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is Kojo Chumbuafu. Sesena, did I not hear Dr. Adumako Kisi saying that the NDC have done well because the party leadership has two former MPs running it? So why is he contradicting himself by saying that Boache Jako should be party chairman? Has Boache Jako ever been in parliament? Same Boache Jako who sat by for our country to be built of 800 million Ghana cedi by certain faceless family members of Akufo-Addo. Doc, what your party should be doing is making sure you don't present Ghanaians with the corrupt and thieving former officials of the Akufo-Addo regime, trying to rinse their corruption and repackaging themselves in various dialects. They have a record. You yourself will play it. And trust me, when I tell you, we'll provide amplification at the next election. Ghana will never return to the days of Akufo-Addo when National Service Secretariat officials can steal 548 million cedis, when the head of the Signals Bureau can steal over 50 million Ghana cedis of public funds and use it to buy stolen cars and 29 houses and on and on. Hope is not a plan, Doc. The master like public. Yes. Yes. So the strike action by the GRNMA is political. I won't mince words at all. Their present husband is the MPP's chairman, the Botiana English chairman for constituency. So she did what she did just to make the government look bad. When her husband's party was in government as a leader of the registered nurses and midwives, she came out to tell us that due to the economic hardship, they won't embark on any strike. Even when many institutions embark on a strike as a protest against Galamsey, this same woman came out to say they won't go on strike because their service was critical, but today she could declare strike and subsequently leave the shores of Ghana whilst people died. If you join us, still the Alhaji&Alhaji, the mother of all talk shows. And of course, we are live from the studios of Pan-African Television, on Pan-African Television, on our social media handles, and on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. Dr. Namba.
Thank you. Let me thank Doc for being very honest. I think he said things about his own party and made some recommendations that I think is good. But what I can say is that what would a farmer who cultivates his crops deny the crops rain, give them too much sunshine, and then when they are about to die and he wants to harvest, then he goes and pours fertilizer under them, they will all die. That is what NPP did to us. They took us 8 years, starved us, stole all the monies, did all what they want, gave us a lot of hardship, challenges, and when they were about to go for elections, then they come and pour plenty money on us, in front of us, thinking that we'll vote for them. The party really hijacked the country. A group of people within the party hijacked the party, thought that the country was for them, the party was for them, maltreated people who had suffered to nurture the party to grow. The party is in tatters. And I don't blame them for starting too early to look for a new leader, to look for new faces. This may help them at least minimize the shock that they had in the last elections. But I don't think it can save them, just like Dr. accepted himself. He knows very well that it's going to be difficult for them to come to power the next 4 years. It's going to be difficult. We have just started, NDC has just started unraveling the corruptions, the scandals that people committed during their 8 years in government. And I think more are yet to come. And all this would really put people who are even thinking to be office holders, would put them into check. Definitely, if you are brought into the picture and we are checkmating you, I don't see how you are really going to stand for a position. They better take the offer Solomon is giving them to join their party yet to be built and then save their faces, because really Ghanaians have suffered under this NPP government that has just left the source. And it was all because of these people. the man who was sent to Yoko, who has deforested our forests, who has taken monies from Exim Bank, taking money from everywhere to do whatever he could do with it without even using it to help Ghanaians at least improve their living conditions. We've seen the vice president family, the one who wants to come back, his family, getting contracts over bloated contracts. How is he going to come back? His own MP who just won elections is mentioned in the National Service Authorities saga. It means that he's even going to lose another seat in the Northeast region. A lot of scandals have taken place. A lot of corrupt deals have taken place. A lot of theft has, even government property. We are just told that somebody has returned a house he cheaply bought. With all the money you've made all over the 8 years, you couldn't buy a house. You have to go and buy a house belonging to government. I think Ghanaians are waiting for them to show them the real picture of them. Because after these 4 years of unraveling the corrupt activities that they committed, I don't think somebody would even be looking at NPP again. For a fact, if we look at them, it means we don't like ourselves. We have to ensure that we get a credible party like NDC. We just have to be sure that we get a good Mahama again, a good person like Mahama, a good person with the character of Mahama to take over from Mahama to run this country. Because what he has started doing in the few days, what NDC has started doing in the few days, has shown some amount of modesty and honesty and love for Ghanaians. Keeping a slim government, reducing certain, saying that they are going to scrap ex gratia and all those things, is something to help the people. We've seen that national health insurance has improved. We are paying upfront updates. Unlike your time where they were suffering to get their money, now it's improving and hospitals are smiling, and then the rest. You see that road infrastructure is going to take place. The big push is coming to move the country forward, and the rest. Agriculture is going to boom very soon, and Ghanaians will be happy. I think NPP officials and their previous appointees have run this country so badly that the NPP people who love NPP would have to really kick them out and form a new party, maybe to take power in maybe 8, 12, 16 years time. But for next elections, this new formation that they are coming with, I don't think even if they put Ronaldo there, he can score a goal. I don't think. So, to me, it's not bad. Oh, Messi has retired. So to me, their new formation they are going to have, they should get very credible people. And PNM and all are even not happy with their own party. Very good economists. I don't think they ever listened to him. Bawumia, why is Bawumia coming to tell Ghanaians again? All what he said he could do, he failed to do them. And somebody is doing them. Why do we change such a person to come and do what you failed to do? To come and do what again? He can do it. We are talking of Jako. We know the PDS and other issues. He couldn't prevent it, and we suffered for that matter. Educhum, at least Educhum, if he comes, I think Upper East is not going to get a vote. You know why? Senior high school, they gave iPads to every senior high school students, especially down south here. Not a single school in Upper East got a tablet. And I spoke on this several times. You think if you start as a presidential candidate, those who have completed senior high school, they'll attend to you. We'll make sure we bring it back. Like Ojochum Bafo said, we will sing the real songs about NPP because we are not getting to know them truly. We will now expose them the more, and Ghanaians will try to distance themselves from them. To me, they should form their new party or form their new executives, but they will come and meet a very strong and formidable NDC. In 2028.
Thank you. Let me jump straight to Mr. Pratt.
SENA, in any conservationist circles, the NPP truly will be seen as an endangered species, and it's clear. Having won the 2016 elections by such a huge margin, the next elections, they were struggling. They really struggled in the next elections. Had to play all kinds of games, which some of us considered unconstitutional, to be able to get 138 members of parliament. This election, they were completely wiped out. And Solo gave the statistics. Can you believe that the NPP, in 4 or 5 regions, doesn't have even one seat, not one, in 4 or 5 regions? Completely wiped out. When the results of the elections were being announced, I was listening. And then in some polling stations, 0, 0, 0. Wiped out. SENA, one of the reasons why some of them thought that Dr. Bawumia would have been their best candidate was this attempt at regional politics. He comes from the north, so you bring in the votes from the north and so on. Look at what happened to them in the north. To the extent that even the northeast region where he's supposed to be coming from, they got only 3 seats. NDC got 3. 3. So this party has been wiped out. Look, apart from the fact that they didn't get any seats in 4 regions, in another 5 regions, they got only 1 seat each. This is an endangered species. And if you listen to them, the things that they themselves believe led to their defeat, repeating the same things all over again. Look at their performance. This is supposed to be a party led by lawyers. They claim so. One to me is arrested. You claim that his bail conditions are too harsh. And then you go and remove your buttocks and sit in front of Yoko headquarters. What is that? When you know that when bail conditions are too harsh, you go to court. That's the proper forum. And this leadership, what does he have to offer the country? Unbelievable. The way they even conduct themselves now. And then the race which is coming is very interesting. They mentioned about 3 or 4 names. It's not true. More than that. Look, I'm seeing something. I don't know whether it is true or not. But I'm sure all of you have seen it. And it's a statement which is attributed to their former national chairman. That if the courts would clear President John Dramani Mahama, there'll be nothing wrong with him running for a third term. Yeah. Social media is tricky. It may not be true.
That's true.
Is it true?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, he made it in an interview with your pa.
Yeah.
Okay. So if your former
chairperson,
national chairman is talking like this, God bless you.
Amen.
What can I say? But listen, the presidential races, unless you haven't been following them, Bernard Champon says that he's set up an exploratory committee as well. Forget it. He's in the field campaigning. They know, he knows he's in the field campaigning.
He has his communicators already.
You know, he's in the field actively campaigning. That's one. Who doubts that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia wants to come back again? Who doubts it? It's obvious. He's coming like Kakai. He's on the way. He's coming like Kakai. Today, who can doubt that Kennedy Japan is coming again? It's coming wild. It's coming. You understand? You understand? So he's coming. Who can doubt that Kwabena Japan wants to come again? I don't know that. Sometimes I wonder why. No, seriously. But he wants to come. He's coming.
Yes.
You know, Boache Jaku is coming. Adainimo, I just watched a video of him only last night. He's coming. You understand? And so, you can count about 12 of them. Is that how to manage an endangered species? National chairman, oh, forget it. John Bodu has declared his intention to become national chairman. Chairman of NPP. He's coming. Going to me. I actually had a telephone conversation with him. Says he's coming. These people, they don't know the plans he has. Nothing will stop him. He's coming, national chairman. Chairman won't to me. Not for Ashanti, no. Chairman won't to me for Ghana. He's coming. You understand? Now, it is obvious that they are not thinking about how to restructure the party. They are not even thinking about messaging, what message they should send out, and so on. It's all about, Kalambani. It's all about Kalambani. How do you rebuild this party? My prediction, if NPP doesn't get its act together, the 88 seats it has in parliament, it will lose 50% of that in the next election. You mark it on the wall. Mark it on the wall. If you continue like this, look, you have to behave in a way which gives people confidence. I mean, I've been in several places where there's an issue and the NPP minority is holding the press conference and everybody says, we are tired of them, And you know it. You know it. When your leaders talk now, they put people off. They are posturing. The posturing is even a major problem. Now, sometimes I ask, how did the NPP get here? In spite of their ideological bankruptcy and so on, NPP had people who could command some respect. Why? Kwame Pianim was a founding member of the party. He could command some respect. When he spoke, people stopped to listen. Kodum Pianim, Don Kofodwo, and so on. BJ Darocha, and so on. Alhaji. Today, mention any name which comes close to these huge personalities. The people who could have developed themselves to become replacement for these giants in the NPP, they were destroyed. The Dambotres and so on, they destroyed them. They didn't give them the chance to develop themselves. They were seen as threats to the throne, and they were destroyed. So today, this is your party. Today, when you want to think about personalities associated with the NPP, what personalities come to your mind? Untumi, Abronya, the vice chairman, the one who threw a microphone away. What's his name? Master Udu, Osman. And then mention the names. Today, when you are looking for personalities to identify with NPP, these are the names that pop up. It is not you.
We are going to change.
It is not you.
We are going to
change. Today, when you are looking for names to be associated with NPP, it is not Dambotre. You understand? It is not all these fine gentlemen and so on. How can you build? You have a huge problem. And unfortunately, instead of focusing on the problem, they are focusing on who will become flag bearer and who will become national chairman and so on. National chairman of what? This vehicle cannot take you to Kaswa. It won't pass Kaswa. It will not reach Cape Coast.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And this, a comment coming from Sani Salihu in Abofu, who says, honestly speaking, the NPP seems to be rushing in coming back to power just 6 months after their exit. They have the option to reflect well, reorganize, rebrand, and come back with entirely new faces. Or they have to waffle their mouths in virtually everything. This isn't good for the optics, really. But if personalities like Dr. Adumaku Kisi could push it with some laborious effort, maybe in 2033. Just maybe. Sunny said that. And of course, there's Kojo is actively watching us. This time around, he says, Sana Obiba JK, the Planke, who wanted the driver's license to take over the steering wheel so that he can come and take over the steering wheel of the third term of Akufo-Addo. I think is referring to. I don't know if we can briefly talk about, because it's a developing matter. But if we can do 2 minutes, a minute each, some brief comments on the Iran-Israeli matter. Okay.
No, look, there's no time. I mean, it's time already. But Israel really has become a criminal state. And somebody must stop Israel. Israel is going to plunge the world into a thermonuclear war. Look, the Israeli establishment itself has taken Netanyahu to court for criminal activities. There's the guy strutting throughout the world, causing them. Look at what they did in Iran yesterday. And you think there are no consequences? There will be consequences. Consequences for everybody. Already, petroleum prices have started rising. Look at the genocide they are committing in Gaza. One small country has attacked Lebanon, has attacked Yemen, has attacked Iraq, has attacked Syria, has attacked Iran. And we are sitting down watching this criminal country. It's unbelievable. And for me, what even annoys me more is their ambassador in Accra, who is insulting our government, who can look us in the face, call journalists to his house, give them breakfast, and tell them that our government is not acting in the best interest of the people of Ghana. Who is he? And then he tells us that we should break ranks with the AU, break ranks with the non-aligned movement, and break ranks with the Arab League. Who the hell does the Israeli ambassador think he is? And it's because we have been tolerating this arrogance. That is why these small diplomats from criminal countries like Israel look us in the face, insult our leaders, and insult all of us, and trample on our sovereignty. We are all waiting to see what President John Dramani Mahama will do in this case. The Israeli ambassador must be sent home immediately. He must be taught a lesson. He must be taught a lesson. He must be told that insulting the Ghanaian government and the Ghanaian people is something we will not tolerate. It is time to make an example of some of these diplomats. Unbelievable. In fact, if John Dramani Mahama's government does not do anything about this matter, it will be making a statement about itself. Which government in the world will tolerate such a statement from an ambassador? That our government doesn't know that the world is changing. How can you say that? That our government should distance itself from the AU. That our government should change its non-aligned status as ambassador? Not even of a decent country, an ambassador of a country committing genocide. And our government is silent. I want to hear Okudzato Ablako on this matter. What is this?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, like I said, it's a developing matter. Yes, I know. I know, that's why I haven't come to you. Yes. So we'll come, I'm sure we'll come to this discussion a bit later on, because it will have an impact on the way the East is having an impact, and it's already having an impact on fuel prices and everything. Anyway, I got this message yesterday. This is a birthday message coming from Habib Bantus, who is always following us from Italy. Says a good morning, Senator. Today, that was yesterday, was my son's birthday. It's Raouf Ali Habib of Achimota Senior High School. Tell him I love him. So a belated happy birthday to Raouf Ali Habib. I understand today is also the birthday of someone called Roger Jemfi. It's been a long time since he's been on this show. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. And a good morning to Enochio. Enochio, thank you very much. I got my Father's Day gift, which are Keche shirts, from Keche Clothing. Thank you very much. And of course, we are back same time next week with another edition of the Mother of all talk shows, Alhaji&Alhaji, live on Pan-African television, of course, live on Radio Go, and live on many other affiliate stations across the country. Well, a big thank you to Kwame Kwesi Prajina, who is the General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, and a big thank you to Dr. Dixon Adumakokisi, who is Member of Parliament for Anyaso Utum, Solomon Owusu, who is a senior member of the Movement for Change, soon to be a political party that you're inviting everybody to join. You keep making this appeal to, every time he sees you, he makes the same appeal to Dr. Dixon Adumakokisi. Yeah. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay. So you believe you ultimately respond favorably?
Nature will definitely bring him. Not his might. Nature will bring him.
I see.
Yes.
And of course, sitting to my immediate left, Dr. Thomas Anaba. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us on the show for the very, very first time. Well, we are back same time next week. Do enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a fruitful week. We'll see you.
He's the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He's the Redeemer.